following is a presentation of ESPN on ABC.
Heavy snowfall in Minneapolis left cleanup crews quite busy on Wednesday at TCF Bank Stadium, clearing the stands and the field for today's game with Ohio State. It's still snowing and freezing on game day, but Gopher fans wouldn't miss this. A matchup of division leaders in the Big Ten. Ohio State 8th in the college football playoff rankings against number 25 Minnesota. The Buckeyes have yet to lose a regular season conference game under Urban Meyer, and they have the longest active road win streak in the country. But they'll have to deal with frigid temperatures and light snow. A little bit of wind here at game time. Dave Pasch alongside Brian Greasy. Tom Luganbill will join us in a little bit. Well, Brian, after Ohio State beat Michigan State, Urban Meyer told us it's one of his top 5 wins ever. Think about that. Yeah. He won 2 national titles. And now they play a Minnesota team that the Buckeye coaching staff has a great amount of respect for.
They certainly do. And you could argue that outside of the game last week against Michigan State, that this will be their toughest matchup of the season. Minnesota brings in a great running game and a tough defense. You talk about a mental week for Ohio State. After that big win, you go on the road in the cold, and everybody's talking playoff rankings, and you have to win and win impressively. We'll see how they respond.
Yeah, 3 straight night games and now a morning game here in the Twin Cities. Kickoff is coming up from Minneapolis. ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Welcome back to ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers. Ohio State and Minnesota. The Buckeyes 8-1, the Gophers 7-2. Snow continues to fall here in the Twin Cities. This will be the coldest game since the 60s for Ohio State. Minnesota's coldest game at TCF Bank Stadium was last year at kickoff, 18 degrees. So we're past that now at 15. And as mentioned, Ohio State's coldest game since they played Michigan back in '64. The Buckeyes have not lost here in Minneapolis since 1981. Minnesota won the toss and elected to kick off. Ohio State will start on offense with the Big Ten Player of the Week, redshirt freshman quarterback J.T. Barrett. True freshman Curtis Samuel is deep. Dontre Wilson, who had been returning kicks and punts, he is out for at least the regular season after suffering a broken bone in his foot in the win at East Lansing last week. Short kickoff. Here's Samuel at the 10. And met at the 20 and dropped. Antonio Johnson with the stick on special teams. Let's bring in now the third member of our crew, Tom Luganbill.
Well, guys, we've talked about what you need to do when you're going to be throwing a wet ball. But when it comes to throwing a cold ball, it becomes very, very slick. In fact, the drier the climate, the more slick it becomes. We've got some moisture today, so that will actually help the grip. You're going to see J.T. Barrett wear a glove. He's not necessarily wearing it because of warmth. He's wearing it to be able to grip the ball better as we've got very dry conditions. Hopefully with this snow, it'll get a little bit more moist. Mitch Leidner, the quarterback from Minnesota, will not be wearing a glove today, but he's a Minnesota boy.
Yeah, no surprise there for the Minnesota quarterback. Barrett is from Texas, and he'll hand it off. Ezekiel Elliott able to break a tackle and a gain of 5 to the 26. Damian Wilson on the wrap-up. Barrett coming off his best game. 300 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground. September 6th against Virginia Tech. Just his second start, he struggled, but he has been brilliant since. You can make the argument that he's been in the category of Winston and Mariota in terms of the best quarterbacks in the country since that game.
And much like Trevon Boykin, one of the most improved players in all of college football this year.
He'll throw on second down, flushed out. and completes it to Michael Thomas, short of the marker, so it'll bring up 3rd down and 2.
It'll be interesting to see J.T. Barrett in this game with the elements. Tom mentioned it's a little bit more difficult to handle that football, and it's not just throwing the football, it's handling it in play action and in the backfield. Ohio State loves the misdirection and the change of pace motions, and J.T. Barrett will be incumbent upon him to protect the football, because on the road against this Minnesota defense was very good turning the football over.
They've been so good on 3rd down because of Barrett's ability to run the football as well as throw it. There's a flag down. Movement by Ohio State. It'll be 3rd and long.
Ball start. Offense. Right side of the line. 5-yard penalty. Remains 3rd down.
Hey, guys, if you notice, for Ohio State, their normal snap count's going to include the clap from the quarterback, which signals the snap. They did not do that. A little bit loud down here. They deviated from their normal snap count. Let's see if he goes back to the clap here.
And your vision impacted, too, because of the flurries in your face, as we saw in that shot on 3rd down and 2. So it's 3rd down and 7 now. Barrett with time. Everybody covered. Barrett breaks a tackle and close to the 1st down at the 30-yard line. See where they spot the football. It is 4th down, and Ohio State, which never goes 3 and out, will have to punt it.
One of the most underrated aspects of this Minnesota team is their secondary. They have 7 players in their secondary that have starting experience, 99 starts between them. Take a look at the coverage downfield. He's trying to throw it. The curl flat combination at the top of the screen. Nice coverage, and then ultimately the rush gets to J.T. Barrett.
Cameron Johnston to punt, and that snap was a little bit wide and not a good punt. Minnesota's going to have the ball near its 40-yard line. And now sophomore Mitch Leidner's turn, the quarterback who attempted just 13 passes against Iowa last week. 10 completions, 4 of those were for touchdowns. And he also can run the football. Big kid, 9-3 as a starter. A lot of pressure on a quarterback for the Gophers that's from Minnesota.
Absolutely. It's a NFL town here, and so they expect their quarterback. They're judging him like an NFL quarterback, Jerry Kill was telling us last night. He said the biggest thing for Mitch Leidner, especially early in this game, is to stay loose. He is a fierce competitor and sometimes tries to take too much on his shoulders early in games.
From the Gopher 38-yard line, play action for Leidner. Leidner being chased, and he'll throw it away. They're trying to hit the fullback Miles Thomas, and Joey Bosa, who leads the Big Ten in sacks and tackles for losses, was bearing down on the quarterback.
And I know that that's an incomplete pass to start the game for Minnesota, but their offensive coordinator, Matt Limegrover, would see that as a positive. He told us last week in the Iowa game, they threw a ball away. Leidner did early in the game, and that told him he's on point, making his reads, not forcing the football.
Plus, they want to get creative. They don't want to have to run the ball every 1st down and 10. Going to hand it off to K.J. May on a jet sweep, and he gets maybe a yard. May rushed 10 times last week for 66 yards and a touchdown in the win against Iowa. So now 3rd down and long for Minnesota.
And there's Matt Limegrover, has been very creative with the skill that he has here. It doesn't have the kind of skill that Ohio State has on the offensive side. But they've been very judicious when they're throwing the football, and when they throw it off of play action in situations like this on 3rd down, their #1 target by far has been their tight end, Max Williams.
Who might be the best tight end in college football. Certainly the most underrated. Got 12 career touchdowns as a sophomore. And Leidner looking that way. There's Williams with a catch, but well covered. They'll be short of the 1st down. Freshman linebacker Darren Lee was covering Williams, who made his 23rd catch. Minnesota goes 3 and out after the Buckeyes went 3 and out.
And I think you're going to see both these teams offensively with a conservative approach early, trying to get a sense for the weather. How is the cold and the snow affecting the ability to operate with the football in their hands? Probably a smart approach.
Then now Mortel the punt, and Jalen Marshall, the true freshman, taking Dontre Wilson's spot as the punt returner is deep. And this takes a Minnesota hop inside the 10 and down at the 5. Logan Hutton was there for the Gophers as they back up J.T. Barrett and the Buckeyes for their second possession here on a snowy Saturday in mid-November in the Twin Cities.
You're watching the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week.
ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers continues with Ohio State and Minnesota scoreless on the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week. Buckeyes have won 7 in a row since the loss to Virginia Tech on September 6th. They had that double overtime win at Penn State. J.T. Barrett was brilliant in that overtime. First 3 and out in the last 30 possessions on the opening drive for the Buckeyes, and now they're backed up at their own 5 for their second series. And Barrett standing in the goal line. And they pitch it to Marshall, and he's out past the 9 to the 10-yard line. How about that little touch pass that time?
Oh, I like that because because he's throwing the ball forward, it's a pass. So if you have any issue with a fumble there, it's an incomplete pass rather than if a handoff would be a fumble. So it's a good call inside your own 5-yard line. Take fumble out of the equation.
They got 6 yards, so second down and 4. They bring Marshall in motion again and hand it off to Elliott. He gets grounded short of the first down by Demarius Travis. So another 3rd down and short for Ohio State. They had a false start last time they had 3rd down and 2.
This Minnesota defense, Dave, is very good against the rush. They are most improved over a year ago in that front 7. Be interesting to see if Ohio State can just come off the ball and knock them back in 3rd and short situation here.
Here's Barrett finding a hole. Look out. He's past the 25-yard line. Barrett to midfield. Being chased inside the 30. Barrett inside the 20 to the 10. Barrett for the touchdown. What a play by J.T. Barrett, an 86-yard touchdown run. That's his 9th rushing touchdown, the 35th total touchdown that he has accounted for, only behind Marcus Mariota nationally in that category. And he's 1 away from tying Braxton Miller's school record.
Speaking of Braxton Miller, that's the kind of play that we saw on a consistent basis out of Miller. Didn't know that J.T. Barrett had that kind of speed, but at 6'1", 225 pounds, he outran the secondary there for Minnesota.
And he started on one side of the field, ended up on the other side of the field. A great start for the Buckeyes. J.T. Barrett all the way for 6.
Go back and take a look at the touchdown. You're going to see the linebacker here. This is Damian Wilson. He's responding to a little bit of a counter action, and once you get J.T. Barrett past that first level of linebacker, it affects Wilson, and then you come back and you see 8 guys up here at the line of scrimmage. There is nobody back for Minnesota. 3rd and short situation. If you get past that first line of defense and Wilson misreads it, take a look at the speed from J.T. Barrett. He's even right there in the secondary and outruns 2 corners for the touchdown. Impressive.
That's the longest play from scrimmage for Ohio State this year. J.T. Barrett, who was called in to start for Braxton Miller after an injury late in training camp. Struggled early, but he's been one of the best players, not just quarterbacks, in college football the last 2 months. Now the Buckeyes kicking it deep. Here's Jalen Myrick. He has a return for a touchdown this year. And he gets the corner. Got tripped up, though. That slowed him down. Still good field position for the Gophers at their 36-yard line as we bring in Tom.
Guys, Minnesota knew coming into this game that they had to limit big explosive plays. And when you're down here at the field level and you're dealing with these elements, this game's going to be a battle of attrition. And Minnesota has got to pop the pads and keep this game in a phone booth. The tougher team will come out on top. If you allow allow explosive plays like we just saw from J.T. Barrett, where you don't have pads popping, you don't have the sting, and you're taking the weather elements out of it, then Minnesota doesn't have the athletes to hold up. If they can keep this thing in a phone booth, make it about toughness, that plays into Minnesota's favor. Those big plays cannot happen any further against Minnesota's defense.
Well, you know, Tom, I think Tracy Claeys took an aggressive approach there, taking the safety out of the middle of the field.
They think the runner went out of bounds earlier.
I think Ohio State's going to challenge the spot here, and whether the returner stepped out of bounds, Urban Meyer felt like he might gain a few yards right here.
Well, if they don't get it, they'll have to give up a timeout. And that'll be their only challenge if they don't get it. Let's see if he stepped out. It has to be indisputable video evidence to overturn it. Not sure that that is. And if you're not sure, it's not going to get overturned. Got to be clear.
Well, usually, if you're right in front of the opposing team's bench, you're looking right there at that right foot, the opposing team's bench has the best look at it of anybody, better than we do up here. You'd think that they were pretty confident that he stepped out if they're going to use that challenge.
Is that conclusive? That shot there?
That looks like he stepped out. To me, I would say that he stepped out right there. I'm not sure I would have used my challenge for 5 or 6 yards, though, in the first quarter.
Yeah, because if he stepped out, you're still at the 28. You're only giving up about 8 yards if he stepped out. I don't think that's enough to overturn it, Brian.
After further review, the ruling on the field stands as called. Ohio State is charged a timeout, and they have no challenges remaining.
So a risky decision there for 8 yards, and it costs them their challenge and a timeout. And again, that's not necessarily the head coach. That could be one of the assistants upstairs watching the monitor.
For their sake, I hope it wasn't.
So Minnesota 1st and 10. And there's David Cobb, number 27. He is one of the nation's leaders in rushing. He's 9th in the country. He's number 3 in attempts. We'll see if they start to pound it with him. They go 2 back on 1st and 10. And here's Cobb taking it outside. And not much, maybe a yard. Eli Apple on the tackle, 2nd and long.
You know, I think the Minnesota coaches are excited about David Cobb for this game in particular, because he's averaged 25 carries a game this season. But last week they got up so early on Iowa that he didn't have but 16 carries in that entire game. So they feel like a bye week before the Iowa game and then only 16 carries. He should be 100% fresh for this game, and they're going to need him.
11 career attempts before last season for David Cobb. Now he's got back-to-back 1,200-yard campaigns. Leidner to the air, in trouble and slammed down. Joey Bosa with his 11th sack of the year.
They're trying to set up a screen to the tight end, Max Williams. He had it set up nice. Here's Williams right here. Take a look. You're just going to drop back as a quarterback, and then you got to find a throwing lane. These guys are going to be in your face. You got to find it. Adolphus Washington was in between Leidner and Max Williams and constricted that throw. But as a quarterback, you can't take a sack in that situation. You throw the ball at the feet of the wide receiver.
And Bosa, a sophomore from Florida, 6'5", 270, one of the best players in the Big Ten. Here's Leidner taking off. Has a long way to go on 3rd and 16. He'll come up a few yards short. Von Bell on the tackle. There's an injured Buckeye back at the 27-yard line. Bosa, he hops to his feet. Boy, there was a collision between 2 Minnesota players before Leidner took off. They're just not in sync offensively yet.
Well, you can't be. They've been in 3rd and 8+ on both of their drives so far. And that's, you know, when you're playing number 8 team in the country and your offense has to stay on schedule, you call a screen, you're not thinking you're going to be in 3rd and 16 after the fact.
Last punt pinned Ohio State to the 5-yard line. Here's Marshall fielding it and paying for it. Dropped around the 12. Logan Hutton for the 2nd straight time. The gunner downfield attacks the return man. That backs the Buckeyes up. That didn't seem to bother J.T. Barrett in the last possession. 7-0 Buckeyes.
ESPN College Football, presented by K Jewelers. K Jewelers, every kiss begins with K. Chevrolet, find new roads. And Fairfield Inn and Suites, stay amazing.
J.T. Barrett, despite a left knee injury that he's played through the last few weeks, 86-yard touchdown run, and Ohio State leads at 7-0. And think about the company that Barrett is in now, playing his 10th game as a collegiate quarterback. He's accounted for 35 total touchdowns. But he's backed up here. First down and 10 on the Buckeye 13-yard line. And he'll throw it. Being chased, and now takes off and gets good yardage. About 6 to the 19. Devontae Campbell tripped him up. Look at what J.T. Barrett has done in 10 games compared to previous Heisman Trophy winners and touchdowns responsible for.
It's impressive any way you look at it. I know there's some people out there that'll say, you know, well, they play in the Big Ten, they played teams like Purdue and Illinois, and he's put up some numbers. But J.T. Barrett has been impressive with the way he's improved week in and week out in this offense.
Barrett pitching here to Elliott on second down. Elliott has the first down. A gain of about 8.
Guys, I was talking to Tom Herman, the offensive coordinator, in pregame warm-up today, and when we were talking about J.T. Barrett, he very simply said, this guy's a grown man. He may be the smartest quarterback I have ever coached, and he has prepared better than anybody that he's coached.
Yeah, when you think about J.T. Barrett, it's a different style of offense because he is a preparation guy. He wants to know everything about a defense, where the weaknesses are, and he's getting this team in the right play at the right time.
Elliott passed the 30 to the 32-yard line, so another chunk there on the ground. I asked Urban Meyer, who would you compare J.T. Barrett to? And he said he does remind him of Alex Smith, who he coached at Utah. Yeah, Urban always said Smith had a photographic memory, and Barrett sees the field the same way.
I kind of think about Chris Lee, who was a Florida quarterback who threw the ball with a good touch. Didn't have the biggest arm in the world, as you see Tom Herman there, but could throw the ball with touch in those intermediate throws over linebackers. And that's what J.T. Barrett brings. It's a little bit different than Braxton Miller, who had that howitzer.
On second down, Barrett pulls it back, and the ball batted down, incomplete. Damian Wilson, who is second in the Big Ten in tackles, makes a play there in the pass game.
Yeah, there he is right here. You're going to see he just reads the quarterback's eyes. Nice job of getting a hand on that football. Again, no safety in the middle of the field from Tracy Claeys. He's being aggressive early in this game with the defenses that he's calling. He's selling out to stop the run. That's fine, but we saw you're going to get hurt with big plays if you miss that tackle at the second level.
This is a big play. 3rd and 6 with Ohio State having momentum. Barrett going to throw it out in the flat to Elliott. Elliott has the first down as he scampers out of bounds at the 39-yard line. That's a 7-yard gain. They needed 6. 1st and 10, Ohio State.
And this is the thing that Ezekiel Elliott brings to the table. He is an outstanding receiver out of the backfield. We've seen him run the ball and get production. We've seen him block and bring a physical nature to this offense. Catching the ball is the third thing he can do.
Elliott not much here on the ground. Got 1. He's replacing Carlos Hyde, who was a terrific running back and a high draft pick by the 49ers. And he's a sophomore out of St. Louis. 4 100-yard rushing games this year. 3 of those have come on the road, but played very well away from Columbus. Was great at Michigan State. 2 touchdowns, over 150 yards on the ground last week. Ohio State put up 49 points in that game against an excellent defense. Barrett keeping. And he picks up maybe 2, and 4 Gophers flying to the football, led by Demarius Travis, so a 3rd and long.
Interesting approach from Minnesota. You see Michael Amefala is going to take Ezekiel Elliott. He's not worried about the quarterback at all. He's right here. And then you're going to respond with Demarius Travis to the quarterback and Theron Cochran. Interesting approach from Minnesota. They are going to take away the running back and force the quarterback to run the football and then converge.
Snow starting to pick up here. 3rd down and long. Barrett in trouble. Gets rid of it. And it's caught. Loose is Marshall inside the 20. He'll take it to the house. It's 13-0 Buckeyes. A 57-yard touchdown pass. And just like that, J.T. Barrett ties the school record for touchdowns responsible for in a year. That's number 36.
And that's what we've seen all year from J.T. Barrett, is the composure in the pocket. This offensive line has given him more time each week, and he's kept his eyes downfield. And Jalen Marshall that time with enough time to beat Cedric Thompson for the touchdown.
Well, there was some talk, would this be a letdown game, a morning kickoff after 3 consecutive night games? Ohio State rolling.
Well, and it's Minnesota taking those chances in the secondary. There's nobody left when you bring everybody up, and Ohio State's too powerful to stop.
Ohio State back in the playoff conversation after the win at Michigan State last week. And the Buckeyes not taking the foot off the pedal. 2 early scores, both on 3rd down on big plays. And Ohio State already with just shy of 200 yards of total offense. This is a Minnesota defense that gives up about 330 per game. Short kickoff. Here's Myrick. And he gets thumped. The ball is free, but out of bounds. It'll be Minnesota football.
Go back and take a look at the touchdown. You're going to see Cedric Thompson pre-snap. He's going to have Jalen Marshall right here. This is where you got to make the decision here. There's one-on-one coverage, and there's nobody left in the middle of the field. Once Marshall gets past Thompson, there's nobody left. And it's just when you go zero coverage and you're in man-to-man and all-out kind of blitz, and you just miss it. He goes for the ball with the wrong hand. You saw he went with the right hand.
Yeah.
You reach with the left hand and you recover with the right hand. You still make the tackle. Just a fundamental error from Cedric Thompson.
On 1st and 10, David Cobb spun down after a gain of 3. Let's check in with Robert Flores in the studio.
All right, Dave Wynn followed your Wells Fargo getting it done. And 3 plays after Deshaun Watson left for Clemson with an injury, Cole Stout is picked off by Jamal Golden, and he goes 85 yards the other way. They missed the point after. Deshaun Watson is headed to the locker room with a leg injury.
Well, that's got to be frustrating for Dabo Swinney to lose Deshaun Watson after he just got him back. But Stout getting Clemson into the end zone. Leidner trying to find a running lane. It's not there. Maybe 2. Steve Miller on the tackle. So 3rd down here for Minnesota, trailing 14-0 at home.
And a big 3rd down early in this game for Minnesota. Down 14-0. You've gone 2 3 and outs. Your defense has been on the field. They have got to pick this 3rd down up.
And with the quarterback Leidner who can run, and David Cobb has been averaging well over 4 yards a carry, they could certainly try to run it here. We have the tight end Max Williams. They've targeted him once so far.
Man, Williams is not even in the game here. They're going to call a timeout. There was some confusion coming out of the huddle for Minnesota.
Number 88 in gold, you see there, Max Williams was not on the field prior to the timeout. It appeared he had something in his eye, his right eye. But because of the timeout, they're able to get him back on the field for 3rd down.
Yeah, it's a good timeout. If you're Mitch Leidner and you look around the huddle and your best players on the sideline, it's a big 3rd down early. Call that timeout, get situated, get him back on the field.
Every possession now becomes precious when you're down 2 scores to a team like Ohio State. Leidner will throw here on 3rd down, and that is deflected, incomplete. Duran Grant stepped in front of Max Williams, who was the intended receiver, and so Minnesota will have to punt.
Yeah, and Duran Grant knows that Max Williams is not going to run by him, so as soon as he reads 3-step drop in a hitch route, he's going to break on that football, and that's nicely done by Duran Grant, who's the leader, the only senior in that secondary for Ohio State.
So another punt. Peter Mortel has pinned Ohio State inside the 15 the last 2 times. It didn't seem to matter, though. Ohio State went right down the field on both occasions. Also be interesting to see if Tracy Claeys takes any more chances defensively. Another good punt. And and this one will kick into the end zone. 64-yard punt, net of 44. No other night is Monday night as the Steelers and Titans battle on Monday Night Football. Starts at 8:15 on ESPN, and watch ESPN. Dave Pasch, Brian Greasy, Tom Luganville here in Minneapolis. Ohio State playing its final road game. The Buckeyes host Indiana next week, then Michigan to close the regular season. They can clinch the East with a win today and a Michigan State loss tonight at Maryland. Even if they don't clinch today, obviously they hold a tiebreaker with the Spartans, so a very good chance that they will compete in the Big Ten championship game. Meanwhile, Minnesota tied with Minnesota and Nebraska for the top spot in the West. Huskers and Badgers play today. Barrett on the roll-off, completes it. Corey Smith with his 10th catch on the year and a short gain. Ohio State with a one-game advantage on Michigan State. Maryland playing a little bit better. Michigan at 500.
Yeah, I think if those Ohio State fans out there are probably rooting in that Nebraska-Wisconsin game for a Cornhusker victory so that they are highly ranked and make it to that Big Ten championship game.
Run play on 2nd and 8. Another big hole for Elliott past the 40 and slammed down at the 44 as Ohio State now just gashing Minnesota's defense. 22-yard run.
Well, you know, this offensive line starting to really play well. Last week against Michigan State, they handled intense pressure from Pat Narduzzi and that defense. They gave the lanes to Ezekiel Elliott. I think that's the thing that's been most underrated about this Ohio State team has been 4 new starters up front. You think about Taylor Decker, the only guy returning at left tackle, and the fact that Virginia Tech game they looked overmatched, but they have gotten so much better as this season has gone on.
Barrett with a ton of time, going to air it out. His deep ball is picked off inside the 10-yard line by Body Calhoun, and he gets a block past the 20. Body Calhoun past the 40, breaks a tackle, still going, and finally down. A huge turnover for the Gophers. It's their 13th pick of the year, their second in the Big Ten in that category.
Body Calhoun leads this team in interceptions. This is his 4th on the year. Just a very disciplined player. He's out all of last year with a knee injury. He knows he has the speed to run with Smith downfield. And this is JT Barrett being aggressive, which you want on the road, up 2 touchdowns. Continue to be aggressive. And a nice job by that defense of Minnesota getting a couple of blocks. You go from having that ball potentially inside your own 15-yard line to now being setting up your offense in great field position at the plus 39.
It was Derek Wells that hammered the receiver, Corey Smith, to spring a 58-yard return. Now Cobb on 1st down, wrapped up, breaks a tackle. Bosa tackles him forward to the 35. It's exactly what Minnesota needed. They had to have something good happen, get momentum back, get some confidence too.
Yeah, exactly what they need now, Dave, is to get David Cobb going. You saw he look over to the sideline and say, run that again, continue to give me that football. He needs to get into a rhythm in this game and establish himself up front.
4th leading rusher in the Big Ten. They flex Max Williams out into the slot. 2nd down and 6. Cobb, big hole, breaks another tackle and gets the 1st down. That's an 11-yard hard run by 220-pound senior David Cobb.
And take a look here. They're going to get a great block on the linebacker, Josh Perry. This offensive line coming off. They've got 3 players up front between Tommy Olson, the center, Zach Epping, and Josh Campion. All of them very experienced and starters for a long time for this Minnesota offense.
Now can the Gophers capitalize on getting inside the 25? Cobb again. Close to another 1st down. That interception certainly gave the Gophers a lift. Cobb saying, keep giving it to me.
Keep rolling. He's like, I don't want a quarter break. Give me the ball again.
So Minnesota in the red zone. ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers will continue after this message and a word from our ABC station. earning its 10th year sponsoring the Good Hands Field Goal Nets, Allstate makes contributions to participating universities' general scholarship funds for each field goal and extra point kicked. Since 2005, Allstate has contributed $3.7 million in scholarship funds. Well, it's been a good year for Minnesota, 8-3 in the last 11 Big Ten games, so they've got the governor's victory bell after defeating Penn State last year. Creasy's favorite, the Little Brown Jug, for their win against Michigan. And the Floyd of Rosedale trophy from their victory against Iowa last week. They can add Paul Bunyan's axe to their collection if they beat Wisconsin at the end of the season. No trophy today. You might get the head of Brutus, though, if we can knock off the Buckeyes. They haven't beat Michigan and Ohio State in the same season in 1940. Second down and 1. They'll keep it on the ground, and Cobb has the first down. Pushes the pile to the 5. They're starting to use that power run game to move that defensive line back.
Well, we're starting to see, we talked a little bit earlier about how fresh David Cobb is coming into this football game, and this is the biggest game of his career. Biggest game of probably the careers of all of these Minnesota players. And up front, didn't get started the way they want with 2 3 and outs. They say, let's stop throwing the ball and start running it.
With 2 back again with Thomas as the fullback. Cobb again. Cobb, touchdown, Minnesota. Cobb said before the break, hey, let's keep going, keep giving it to me. And that's touchdown number 9 of the season for David Cobb.
And we talked about the offensive line starting to exert themselves. Let's give some credit to Max Williams, too. We talk a lot about him catching the ball, scoring with the football in the passing game. Had a great block there to free Cobb to the end zone.
So they get a great return after the interception inside the 10-yard line. That sets them up at the 39 of Ohio State. And in 5 plays in less than 2 minutes, all David Cobb. The point after cuts the Ohio State lead to 7. And the Gophers back in it for now. David Cobb had all 39 rushing yards behind that offensive line on that last drive. If you missed the video of the touchdown, go to the SportsCenter app, available on your mobile devices and tablets whenever you need it. So Minnesota back in it, 14-7 Ohio State. Started with the Barrett interception, just his 4th since week 2 against Virginia Tech. Evan Spencer and Curtis Samuel are deep. 15 degrees, the coldest game that Ohio State has played since 1960. That hugged the sideline, but it's a touchback.
Let's go back and look at the touchdown. Here is Max Williams. He's going to come across the formation, and then he's going to get a block on Tyvis Powell. But before, he's going to influence Joey Bosa, 97, right off the edge. Take a look. He just jams him to widen him, and then comes down and gets the block on Tyvis Powell. Bosa had a chance to get Cobb on the ground, but you're not going to get 5'11", 220 on the ground with just one hand.
But the momentum started on the pick. Watch after the interception by Bodie Calhoun. Here comes Derek Wells. Lays out Corey Smith. That fired everybody up. Now the Buckeyes take over on their 25-yard line. See how Barrett responds after throwing a pick. Ezekiel Elliott, and a beautiful tackle in the open field by Cedric Thompson. That's a loss of 4 or 5 in the play.
This defense for Minnesota has given up 2 big plays already. Take a look. You can roll this, guys. You're going to see Cedric Thompson was one of them. Comes up and make a sure tackle. That was the big key, talking with defensive coordinator Tracy Claeys. How well do we tackle on the perimeter with our defensive secondary?
Barrett out of an empty set. Low pass. And it's a catch at the 27 by Michael Thomas. Thomas, a sophomore out of Los Angeles, leads the team in receptions now with 32. But Ohio State faced with a 3rd down and long. 3rd and 9. Barrett facing a four-man rush. His pass is incomplete behind Hireman. He would not have had the first down on the catch anyway. And the Buckeyes have to punt. Their second 3-and-out already today.
Normally a very accurate passer. A little bit of pressure inside. A stunt up front. That's Steve Richardson, the true freshman that comes in. Affects the quarterback just enough. That ball thrown behind Hireman. And Ohio State's lucky that Wilson had fallen down. Otherwise, he may have picked up that football for an interception.
Now Johnston's first punt wasn't good. We'll see how he fares here. Minnesota should get good field position. Craig James, a true freshman, is the deep man for the Gophers. And a high snap, but it's pulled down. And a kick away. Minnesota does have 2 blocked punts this year. And in a lot of traffic, 5 white jerseys. No problem for Craig James. Gophers football early second quarter, trailing by 7.
ESPN College Football, presented by K Jewelers. Brought to you by Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind. Nissan. Choose Nissan today for great offers on our most exciting lineup ever. Shop ChooseNissan.com. And Carhartt Rain Defender, for those who outwork them all.
Senior day for the Golden Gophers, including David Cobb, who going into last year wasn't even a thought to be a guy that could get it done as a running back. He had 11 career attempts before last season, but midway through the year became a starter and ended up with over 1,200 rushing yards. He's well over 1,200 this year, as a touchdown today. And Minnesota's back on offense on his 35-yard line. Cobb again, and this time Ohio State gang tackles a 1-yard pickup.
Fellas, this is a monumental drive for Minnesota. They got to this point because they went back to who they are, and they're not going to deviate from it. Watching the offensive line for Minnesota come out from the sideline after the break, the offensive line is jacked. I think they've taken this as a personal challenge, and all the momentum has gone from the scarlet and gray over the Minnesota sideline, and the crowd got back into it here in the second quarter.
It happened quickly, and let's see if Minnesota can keep it going. Second down and 9. Cobb again, and there's Joey Bosa. He missed him on the touchdown, but not that time. That's already a tackle for a loss and a sack for one of the best players in the Big Ten.
And, you know, just to follow up on what Tom was saying there, I thought it was interesting talking with Jerry Kill last night. He said, I only had one message last week to the team, and it's the same message this week. I just need all you have on Saturday. I want you to empty the tank. Don't look at the scoreboard because it doesn't matter. Just give me all you got. Let the chips fall where they may. And if it's not enough, we'll move on to the next week. And I thought that was the perfect way to approach his team, to take the pressure off against a big game like this against Ohio State.
Play action for Leidner. Deep pass is incomplete. It was intended for Isaac Frichte, but overthrown. Tyvis Powell may have deflected it, but Minnesota goes 3-and-out. Here comes the punt team.
And you see, of a lot of the teams in college football, Minnesota, maybe more than any other, is so dependent on first and second down efficiency. Because if they get in 3rd and 9, 10, there's very little chance they're going to convert in those situations. And Mitch Leidner's lucky that ball wasn't intercepted.
Yep, that's why they're 0 for 4 on 3rd down, and they'll kick it back to Ohio State. And one of the things Minnesota wanted to do was not only get yards on first down, but then have more first downs, so you're keeping Ohio State's offense cold and on the bench. Another good punt by Mortel. Marshall backing up. He muffs it, scoops it up at the 5. He's in trouble, and he breaks a tackle. Finally goes down inside the 5. Logan Hutton has had himself a day.
And special teams are going to play a big role in the outcome of this game. And Hutton doesn't get a lot of notoriety, but effort, right? It's effort on special teams. And Jalen Marshall's lucky he didn't turn that ball over.
The temperature's on the rise. We're up to 15, close to 16 here in Minneapolis.
Heat waves.
Minnesota last year against Wisconsin, that was the coldest game to kick off. This is the coldest game Ohio State has played since 1960. And time now for our Aflac trivia question. What is the coldest city, Brian, in the continental United States? Continental United States.
Continental, the key word, boy. So no Alaska.
By the way, Kerry Coombs couldn't care less about the cold.
Look at that. He's got a golf shirt on. That's great. You're going to have dog tags. It'd be tough if you're going to wear a golf shirt in 15-degree weather.
He is the special teams and DB's coach. Now, Ohio State backed up for the second time inside its 5. Here's Elliott, and he stood up, but then able to muscle through an arm tackle by Derek Wells and get about 3 yards. That'll give Ohio State more breathing room. Second down.
I'm going to venture to say it's somewhere in the state of Minnesota, based on we've been here 2 times, 3 times in the last couple of years, and it's been below 20 every time we come.
Well, at this point, when you've been out for a while playing in it, do you still feel it as a player?
Well, when you get numb, it's hard to feel a whole lot of anything, but certainly you still feel it the entire game.
Here comes second down. There's that little shovel pass on the end around to Marshall, who's got the first down. Oh, he hurdles 2 guys and is out to the 27-yard line. Gain of about 20 on the play.
Here he comes. He's going to come around in motion, and watch this offensive line. Taylor Decker, 68, gets downfield, gets a block on the linebacker. Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, that's an impressive looking play. When you get a back like Jalen Marsh with the speed that he has, and you give him that much room, he wasn't touched till he was 20 yards downfield.
We talked earlier about the touch pass that avoids if the ball hits the ground, it being a fumble and be a forward pass. Here's a design quarterback run for Barrett, and Barrett slides for about a yard. Jack Lynn tripped him up. Second down and long for Ohio State, which comes in 8-1. Number 8 in the college football playoff rankings, up 6 spots from last week. As it looks now, you'd think they need some help in front of them. Obviously, they got to keep winning. And I think the committee coming into this week thinks higher of the Big Ten than maybe a lot of the media does. I mean, they have 5 teams, including Minnesota, in the top 25.
Well, I think the most interesting thing is the committee watching this game is going to compare how Ohio State fares against Minnesota team that also played TCU. TCU beat them 30-7 early in the year.
Barrett and wide open, but dropped. Michael Thomas, been playing this weather very often. He couldn't hang on to it. That was an easy catch. It's 3rd and long. 3rd and 9.
Yeah, Michael Thomas is from Los Angeles. You don't have many days like this kind of weather in Los Angeles. Took his concentration off the ball. That was going to be an easy first down conversion. Instead, you bring up 3rd and 9, and you bring pass rush into the equation here for Minnesota defensive line. Last 3rd down, Minnesota gave up that long touchdown in a 0 coverage. Again, no safety in the middle of the field. Aggressive from Tracy Clay.
Everybody in the box. Barrett fakes the pitch and runs, and here we go again. Barrett breaking a tackle at midfield. Inside the 40 and out of bounds at the 34. So if you're Minnesota, why do you keep doing this? It's not working.
No safety again in the middle of the field. Take a look from this angle. You see there's nobody back there. And then here's Damian Wilson. He's the guy that has to get the quarterback on the ground. He gets blocked. You have a missed tackle. And there's nobody left. I just think you're right. At some point, even though it's 3rd and 9 and a great play call from Ohio State, they understand if we get J.T. Barrett past the linebacker level, we're going to have a big play.
Well, Derek Wells went for the kill shot at midfield instead of just wrapping up, and that gave the quarterback Barrett another 15 yards. 141 yards on the ground already for Barrett. He'll throw it here and fires. And a beautiful catch. Nick Van Nett adjusting in midair to the 15-yard line. A gain of 19 and a first down for the Buckeyes.
We talked about the accuracy of J.T. Barrett. Take a look at this throw. The safety in the middle of the field. Van Nett gets knocked off. But look at the placement of this is. If he throws that down the hash, it's intercepted. But he throws it to the outside shoulder of Nick Van Nett, which doesn't allow Cedric Thompson to get his hand on the football. That's the value of having a quarterback at Ohio State that has supreme accuracy, and you've seen it play out all year with J.T. Barrett.
64% completion rate on the year for Barrett. Barrett keeping here inside the 15 and dragged down around the 7-yard line by Cedric Thompson. So the Buckeyes are inside the 10. They have been able to get out of 3rd down and long. They've been able to score on 3rd down and long, and that has been the story of this first half. Midway through the second quarter, 14-7 Buckeyes.
An impressive response by Ohio State. You sense a little bit of momentum shifting to the Gophers. You get the ball inside your own 5-yard line. Now, the 8 plays later, you're inside the 10 going in.
And here's Marshall inside the 5. Fumble the ball. Loose in the end zone. Still loose. And the Gophers recover. It'll be a touchback. Devondre Campbell recovers the fumble. It looked like Marshall would score. Instead, he coughs it up. Second turnover by Ohio State.
Looked like he was trying to reach that ball out. Young players, especially freshmen like Jalen Marshall, will try to score, reach that football out. Great hit there. No, he didn't try to reach it out. That was just a great hit on the ball by Buddy Calhoun. Ball comes out.
Evan Spencer had a chance to recover for a touchdown. He couldn't fall on it. Yeah, Buddy Calhoun in there on the hit.
And that part of it is the elements too, right? The elements securing the football when it gets cold and it gets wet out. But you got to give more credit to Buddy Calhoun than that is being careless with the ball with Jalen Marshall.
Jerry Kill said to us yesterday, we have to have 0 turnovers. Well, they haven't given it up yet, and they've got 2 takeaways. And they have the ball back on the 20. Here's Cobb, and he runs through 2 defenders. Oh, man, he was off to the races if Von Bell didn't get him to the ground at the 31-yard line. But David Cobb running hard between the tackles for Minnesota.
Von Bell, take a look at this replay. If he doesn't get him on the ground, as you said, Dave, Cobb be gone. Watch this physical run. He runs right over Tyvis Powell. And I think he saw green grass, and Bell just got the shoelaces.
Well, you mentioned yesterday when you watched film on Cobb, you saw an NFL back.
I did. I mean, there's a lot of great backs in the Big Ten. Not a whole lot of people talking about David Cobb.
Here he is again. And good pickup near the 35-yard line. That's about 4 on the ground for David Cobb, senior from Texas, 9th in the country in rushing. And comes in number 3 in attempts at 25 a game. He's got 11 carries today, had 16 last week.
And what's most impressive is he doesn't have the supporting cast of some of these other great backs around the country. It's pretty much the Cobb show, and then you got a quarterback that's really another running back. So he's done a lot of this heavy lifting on his own.
2nd and 7. Cobb again breaks tackles near the first down. He'll come up just short. Darren Lee on the tackle. When's the last time someone other than David Cobb touched the football?
Well, they plan all year for Minnesota, and the way that they blew out Iowa last week 51-14 is they start with Cobb, and then they get you with play action with Max Williams. And 3rd and 1 here, I don't expect them to throw the football, but at some point in this game, there will be a play action element to Max Williams. 10
of the last 11 plays have been Cobb runs. Here's 3rd and 1. Cobb again got the first down. He got tagged at the 43 pretty good by Josh Perry, but it's a first down. Here's Robert.
Yep, it's the Taco Bell studio update, Dave. Virginia Tech has lost 3 in a row, but they closed the gap with Duke. Michael Brewer, Isaiah Ford. It's 10-7 right now on ESPNU. Duke leading Virginia Tech.
And here it's 14-7 Ohio State. Minnesota gets momentum back, though, after a turnover on the goal line by the Buckeyes. And a first down run by Cobb. A fresh set now at the 42. Here's play action. Leidner with time going for Max Williams. There was contact and a flag. Von Bell ran into Williams on an underthrown ball. Interference on the sophomore safety for Ohio State.
And Von Bell was in great position. You just got to look back for the football. The problem is that Von Bell doesn't have the size to match up with Max Williams.
Interference. Defense, number 11. 15-yard penalty results in an automatic first down.
It's 5'11", 200 pounds, and Mitch Leidner understands. Even if Von Bell's in good position, you see here he's outside leverage on Max Williams, But the problem is Max Williams is 6'5", and so Von Bell's got to get his eyes around there and trust that he's in good position, and he won't get that penalty called.
You saw Urban Meyer there. He's trying to fire up the defense. This has been the problem area for the Buckeyes this year, the last couple years, the intensity level. And so far the D not playing as well as Urban would have hoped. Even though they've only given up 7 points, they've had trouble stopping Cobb between the tackles. Here's KJ May getting a corner at the 35 near another first down. Remember what Tom Herman told us this week? He said he watched the film of Minnesota and said he was unpleasantly surprised, meaning they're good.
Absolutely, and they're physical. And I think Urban Meyer realizes that he wanted to come in here and have a knockout punch early and not let this Minnesota team hang around. He knows that they are tough. He has a tremendous amount of respect for how well they're coached in Jerry Kill. And the longer you let them hang around, the more danger Ohio State's going to be in.
First thing he said when he got on the call with us was, Minnesota's a top 25 team. Here's Cobb. Great play by Michael Bennett. Doesn't get the pub that Joey Bosa does, but Bennett is a future high draft pick. That's a tackle for a loss. So third down and 3 or 4 here for Minnesota.
Yeah, Bennett may have had one of his best games last week against that physical offensive line from Michigan State. They're going to need him. The problem with Bennett and these 4 guys up front is there's nobody left to spell them. They're playing a ton of plays, and Michael, after last week's game, said, we can't play 80 plays every week. We need to find some depth and rotation on that defensive line.
Play action for Leidner, rolling out and throwing for Williams, knocked away by Bell, incomplete. So it's 4th down. What do? Do you go for it here, or do you try a long field goal? It would be about 52 yards for Santoso.
Well, we got to give Von Bell credit here. He got beat. Penalty in the last play. Plays this perfectly, even though he's given up 6 inches to Max Williams. Played that ball perfectly, but it brings up a 4th down, and I think this is the right call for Jerry Kill. Go for it here.
Their kicker has made a 52-yarder, but it wasn't in 15-degree weather with a little wind and snow flurries.
I'd still give this ball to Cobb.
They need 3 yards. 4th down. Play fake. Leidner caught. First down. The fullback, Miles Thomas, inside the 30-yard line. And Leidner says, yep, we'll take that. Jerry Kill showing trust in his quarterback.
And that's big. Miles Thomas just going to come out of the backfield. Here he is. Got to respect David Cobb. 3 linebackers suck up, and just all you need is leverage there with the fullback in the flat. And that ball didn't look pretty coming out of Leidner's hands, but it doesn't matter how it looks, just matter where it goes.
Got to feel good for him, too, for his coach to call his number to throw it. Here's Cobb, and he's in trouble. There's a flag down as well, likely a hold. Von Bell on the tackle, and the flag was thrown right at an Ohio State player who had a gopher on top of him.
I think they're going to get Josh Campion, the left tackle, for tackling.
Holding offense, number 65. 10-yard penalty. Replay, first down.
Made 35 consecutive starts, and he's a leader up front. And when you bounce the ball outside, as Cobb does here, and that defender tries to disengage, you got to let him go, and you just can't take him down.
They'll push him back to the 35. First down and 20. Minnesota in its best stretch right now in conference play since the late 60s. 8-3 in their last 11. They've beaten Nebraska, Penn State during that stretch. Now trying to take down the Buckeyes. Here's Leidner. And another good play by Bell. Sure tackler for Ohio State. So only a 5-yard gain. 2nd and 15. Remember, Bell had the tackle on Cobb when it looked like Cobb was going to run for a touchdown. Bell was the last defense for Ohio State. And he got Cobb to the ground.
It's an important series of plays here for Minnesota. You're at your at the 30-yard line going in. It's 2nd and 15. And you don't want to be in a 3rd and 10, 12 situation. So you just want to get 7 or 8 yards here to bring up a manageable 3rd down situation. But also, you got to protect the football. Sorry, Dave, because you have 3 points potential as well.
Exactly. Closing in on 2 minutes to go here in the half. They're going to run it, and Cobb goes nowhere. Curtis Grant, the middle linebacker. Bosa was in there also, so no gain. That'll bring up 3rd down and 15. Now, how do you handle this play?
Yeah.
You didn't get what you wanted there.
Yeah, no, they were trying to get, maybe 4, 5, 6 yards, but right now the odds are you're going to be attempting a field goal. So if something breaks open or somebody misses a tackle and you get a first down, great, but don't take the chance with the football if you're Mitch Leiden.
You just hand it off here to Cobb and hope you can get 5 yards?
No, I try to isolate Max Williams. I throw him the football. Looks like he's going to come down here in the slot. And maybe he breaks the tackle.
Ohio State did have a little confusion lining up. Play clock was down to 3. Minnesota calls a timeout. 1 timeout left for the Gophers. Big third down when we come back. ESPN on ABC College Football presented by K Jewelers. 14-7 Ohio State on the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive. Game of the week. Time to answer today's Aflac trivia question. What is the coldest city in the continental United States? And the answer, I know that you had this as International Falls.
Oh, Minnesota. I said somewhere in Minnesota.
Yes, you were right on that. Meanwhile, a 3rd down and 15 for Minnesota at the Ohio State 30. And their kicker, Ryan Santoso, is an Under Armour All-American, according to our one Tom Lugan Bill. He's made a 52-yarder, and they're going to run Cobb here. Cobb breaks a tackle. They're going to have more than 3 here. It's a touchdown for Cobb. A 30-yard touchdown run by the senior, and the Gophers now with a chance to tie the game. State has scored on 3rd down a couple of times. Now it's Minnesota's turn on 3rd and 15.
I think Jerry Kill was taking a conservative approach there. Just wanted to get 6 or 7 yards and help out his kicker to attempt that field goal. But David Cobb makes Tyvis Powell miss in the secondary.
And Santoso evens the game at 14 apiece as David Cobb gets his 2nd rushing touchdown of the first half.
You get him to the 2nd level, and he's one-on-one with Tyvis Powell, the safety, and he just makes Tyvis Powell look bad. I think Powell gets concerned about the physical nature of Cobb, and he's going to run him over, and then Cobb gives him a little move, and then the speed to the end zone to tie this football game. Tyvis Powell, you see, he just gets his legs crossed there, and then he has no chance. You're not going to bring down 220 with an arm tackle.
Obviously, Todd Gurley, everybody knows about him. You talked earlier, Melvin Gordon, Amir Abdullah, they get the headlines, but David Cobb right up there. His numbers certainly say that he's right up there. He's 9th in the country in rushing yards and now has 10 rushing scores in his final game here at home.
And he's done it the hard way, in between the tackles. And in this offense with Matt Limegrover, they use the wide receivers really to run on the perimeter, and they like to slam it with David Cobb in the middle. He's been kind of a late bloomer, as you mentioned. Didn't have a whole lot of carries, and then last year really started to come on, and now top 10 back from a yardage production standpoint in all of college football. But the thing I like about David Cobb is his leadership. He has taken a leadership role. You see him talking to that offensive line. It's about the team with David Cobb, and that's really cool to see.
Taking it out. Samuel, he broke a tackle. Another one past the 30. And Ohio State in business with 1:16 on the clock. They're going to have the ball near their own 40-yard line. Coming up on the Capital One halftime report, John Saunders and company will get you caught up on all of the day's college football action. Don't forget later today on ABC, following this game from Madison, it's Wisconsin and Nebraska. You just saw Jalen Marshall, 17, run onto the field. He fumbled last time Ohio State had the ball and turned it over in the end zone. Minnesota took it and tied the game. Ohio State has 2 timeouts remaining. Barrett looking, and a pass caught by Michael Thomas, a gain of about 6.
We know this offense does not need a whole lot of time to score. But with 2 timeouts, looks like they're going to take one right away here with the clock running.
Remember, they had to burn one earlier when they challenged a spot And they did not win the challenge, so one timeout left. Tonight on ABC, Florida State Seminoles drop the spot in the college football playoff rankings. Oregon is now 2. The Seminoles are 3. Can they beat Miami on the road on Saturday Night Football and keep hopes alive of a second straight national title?
Dave, I think the fears that Urban Meyer had coming into this game and the environment and with what happened last week against Michigan State and letting this team, this Minnesota team, hang around in the first half, they had a chance, right? Up 14-0. They take that long shot down the field and turn it over. And now Ohio State, whether they like it or not, I think they're going to be in a dogfight for 60 minutes.
Obviously, this final 66 seconds is huge. Both teams, can you steal momentum back if you're Ohio State? Can you keep momentum going if you're Minnesota, knowing that you'll get the opening kickoff to start the second half?
No safety again for Minnesota defensively.
That has not worked well. Barrett going deep. Overthrown. Tried to hit Devin Smith. It was one-on-one coverage. Derek Wells was behind him, but it was Eric Murray running with the wide receiver.
Yeah, and Eric Murray has been that guy in the secondary they depend on. He trusts his speed. Even though Devin Smith looks open initially, Murray trusts his speed. He's their best cover man. He matches up with the best wide receiver every single week for Minnesota. Good job against Devin Smith.
3rd down and 4 for Ohio State with a minute to go in the half. And Barrett will keep it. Get the first down and to go for territory at the 47-yard line. Clock will stop as they move the chains. 52 seconds left. 1 timeout remaining for the Buckeyes.
And if I'm Ohio State, I understand it's a 2-minute, 1-minute drill, but I don't need to throw the football because the best success has been with Barrett running.
Barrett is going to throw, though. Wide open was Hireman, and Barrett was high with the throw. He had Hireman around the 30-yard line, but a bad pass. 2nd down.
And that's normally a ball that J.T. Barrett, with his accuracy, will make consistently. And you start to wonder, as you see the snow accumulating on the field and on the sidelines, how much the element is starting to affect potentially J.T. Barrett and his accuracy.
He also had that interception, too. You wonder if that...
Well, that was just a shot downfield. I mean, those things are going to happen, but that play there to Hireman, that could have been a touchdown and a momentum changer before half.
Again, no safety deep for Minnesota here. 8 in the box. And another pass play. And Barrett's pass incomplete. Evan Spencer stumbled a bit coming out of his break. So now it's 3rd down and 10 with 38 seconds on the clock in a tie game late in the first half.
Yeah, and another one back-to-back there. That ball was inaccurate as well. And J.T. Barrett's lucky that Eric Murray kind of slipped on the play. Otherwise, that ball would have hit him right in the chest.
Ohio State has not lost a Big Ten regular season game in the Urban Meyer era. And they have a 3rd down and 10 here in a tie game near midfield. Barrett will run it again. And he's got the first down inside the 40. Got a good block downfield. 31 seconds left. Ball spotted at the Minnesota 36.
And like I said, Dave, that's been their best play in the first half, is that misdirection with the quarterback. It's the play that Tracy Claeys, the defensive coordinator for Minnesota, was most worried about when we talked to him yesterday. And I think right now Ohio State just needs to continue to run that play because it's being very difficult now for them to throw the ball accurately in the elements.
You saw the true freshman Sean Nurnberger warming up. He has a 49-yard field goal this year as his long. 1st and 10 Buckeyes. And Barrett back to throw again, in trouble. And Barrett finds a receiver, but it's knocked down at the last second. Bodie Calhoun caught up to Jalen Marshall, who was open. Incomplete.
J.T. Barrett was falling back, couldn't get a whole lot on that football. Jalen Marshall was open, but Bodie Calhoun with great closing speed knocks it away.
How about it? He's got a pick, a forced fumble, and now a big pass breakup. 2nd down and 10 with 23 seconds left for Ohio State at the Minnesota 36. The play clock is down to 3. Another pass. Barrett looking deep. Pass is underthrown. Incomplete, but a flag. Eric Murphy interfere with Michael Thomas. That'll give Ohio State a first down inside the 30.
And I'm surprised that Eric Murray there. He's that upperclassman that he knows he needs to turn around and look for the football.
Pass interference, defense, number 31. 15-yard
Every
penalty.
single week we talk
Results in
about it, Dave.
automatic
If you
first
don't
down.
turn your head as a defensive back and look for the football, then you're going to put yourself at risk. He gets the left hand on the shoulder, and if you're not looking back, they're going to call that every single time. And Eric Murray, I'm surprised. On film, as I've watched him this year, I haven't seen that.
So that puts the ball at the 21-yard line of Minnesota. So Ohio State is now in field goal range. 16 seconds left. The Gophers call a timeout. Ohio State has one timeout remaining. And what do you expect here? How do you think Ohio State will handle this, knowing that you have a timeout, but you only have 16 seconds left, and they probably want to get the ball to the middle of the field somehow for their kicker?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have an opportunity to throw the football to the end zone if you want. You could take a couple of shots to the end zone because you're at the 20-yard line, but you don't want to take too much of a chance if you're J.T. Barrett, knowing that you have the potential to go up with the lead at halftime.
But what a great first half. Ohio State looked like it was going to roll.
Yeah.
Two big plays for touchdowns, but then Minnesota gets a turnover, comes back with 2 scores to tie it, and they will get the ball to start the second half. But can Ohio State steal momentum back here? This would be big for Urban Meyer's team if they can go into the locker room with an advantage.
Yeah, I think either way, you're going to get a great game in the second half. I think you're going to get more of that ground and pound from Minnesota and David Cobb with the first half that he's had, and with the ability that Minnesota has had to establish the line of scrimmage. This is going to be a 4-quarter game for Ohio State.
Nurnberger's numbers on the year: he's missed 5. He is a true freshman. It would be about a 38-yard field goal from here, but still 16 seconds remaining and 1 timeout for Ohio State. Barrett with time, going to the end zone, and it is broken up at the last second again. Intended for Michael Thomas. And this time, it was Jalen Myrick for the Golden Gophers.
Great job by Myrick, as Thomas had him beat for a second. This ball hangs up in the air just enough, and Myrick comes in with that left hand. You see, that was great technique. Watch the left hand of Myrick. Gets it on the football. That's a great shot. Our guys in the truck with an awesome shot in slow-mo. Myrick knocking that ball away.
So 9 seconds left. Let's see if he takes another shot to the end zone, or if they run it to the middle of the field here and then set things up for their kicker. We're on the near hash mark right now. And Barrett gonna throw. Dumps it off to Elliott inside the 15. And close to a first down. There's 2 seconds left and now a flag. So a penalty flag that will put the ball around the 5. And now if you're Urban Meyer, you have a decision to make. You got 2 seconds left. Do you take the points, or do you say, you know what, we're going to try for a touchdown?
After runner was out of bounds, personal foul, late hit, number 41. Half the distance to the goal, first down.
Because it's a half the distance to a goal foul, though, it's pretty much a done deal. You're going to take the points.
You got, yeah, and that's Damian Wilson, number 5, coming out. You just got to hold up, but it's not going to hurt Minnesota too much here. This is basically going to be an extra point attempt for Ohio State for the field goal.
But it is snowing, and you got a true freshman kicker. 22-yard attempt. Minnesota's blocked 3 kicks this year, including a field goal. Nurnberger puts it through and gives the Buckeyes the lead at halftime. Minnesota will get the football to start the second half. Ohio State trying to keep its playoff hopes alive with a 3-point lead. Here's Tom.
Hey, Coach, you executed the 1-minute drill. You get the points there, but how do you stem the tide defensively in terms of stopping the run?
We got to quit turning the damn ball over. If we don't turn the ball over, we got a couple more opportunities to score. So we got to stop throwing. They're a good running team, and we're going to make some adjustments inside, but we can't turn the darn ball over.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Yeah.
Coach not happy with that pick thrown by Barrett on a deep ball. The last conference loss for Ohio State, a game that He was actually scheduled to broadcast in 2011, just prior to him taking the Ohio State job. Coming up after the break, the Capital One Halftime Report, ESPN and ABC College Football, presented by K Jewelers, will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations. Division leaders in the Big Ten squaring off as we bring you back with ABC College Football presented by K Jewelers. Minnesota doing a good job on offense after trailing 14-0 to tie the game, but a field goal in the final seconds by Urban Meyer's Buckeyes, and Ohio State leads by 3 as we get ready to start the second half with Brian Greasy, Dave Pash. And if you're Minnesota, you've got to keep Ohio State's offense on the sideline, because when the Buckeyes were out there, they did whatever they wanted. J.T. Barrett was tremendous, had 300 yards total offense in that first half.
And it's been an aggressive approach by Minnesota on the defensive side. Jerry Kill knows they've got to make plays, but you're right. J.T. Barrett's got 168 yards rushing in the first half of this game. It's been all off of this counter motion. Take a look at this action. The fake affects the linebackers, and then once they get past the linebackers, you see there's no safety, so it's putting a lot of pressure on these linebackers to get J.T. Barrett on the ground. Again, this was the first touchdown. That counter action affects Damian Wilson. One false step and great blocking up front, and J.T. Barrett showed that he's got some speed a la Braxton Miller to get into the end zone. But I don't expect Jerry Kill and this defense to do much different. I think they just need to get J.T. Barrett on the ground when they get him at the linebacker spot.
Most yards of total offense and a half by any Big Ten player this season. Ohio State on pace for 700 yards as a team of total offense, but 2 turnovers, one that was on the goal line by Jalen Marshall, recovered in the end zone by Minnesota. Well, you know, they're tough here in the Twin Cities, and they don't mind ice cream on a cold day. They want it to be cold. They want it to keep snowing.
Yes.
By the way, David Cobb, tremendous first half for Minnesota, 96 rushing yards and 2 scores, and the Gophers will get the ball to start the second half. A little trickery. They throw it back to Myrick. Myrick past the 30. Can't stay in bounds. Kyle Clinton, the kicker, pushed out Myrick. Otherwise, he might have taken it the distance.
Well, from the snap here, Ohio State was lined up. Take a look here. Look, there's nobody outside the hash all the way over here. This is a great adjustment from Minnesota. We talked with Jerry Kill. He said, we're going to have a few tricks up our sleeves. I think they saw that formation, made the audible, and called this. If Myrick was a little bit wider to catch that ball, Dave, he might still be running.
Yeah. And again, the kicker was the last man there, and he made the play. So now Minnesota with good starting field position. Cobb on first down is bottled up. Joey Bosa on the tackle. Take a look at our Pacific Life game summary. With Ohio State leading by 3, J.T. Barrett. Long pass overthrown and picked off, and this changed the game. It was 14-0 at that point. After the turnover, Minnesota gets a touchdown from Cobb, and then Marshall fumbles. Spencer has a chance to recover for a touchdown. Instead, it's a touchback, and then Cobb takes it in on 3rd and 15, tying it at 14 before Urban Meyer's squad kicked a field goal as time expired. They take a 3-point lead. Leidner, and that was tipped. And it seemed like Max Williams, not sure what happened there, incomplete. 3rd and 9. That's only the 7th pass attempt by Leidner here today.
Yeah, and Leidner is not in a rhythm. He's 2 of 7 on the day. That time they're trying to throw the screen to Max Williams in the middle of the field again. And Leidner and Williams are just not on the same page. But make no mistake, if Minnesota's going to pull the upset in this game, they're going to need Leidner and Williams in the second half to make some productive plays.
Just the one catch, as you saw, for Williams. Comes in with 12 touchdowns the last 2 years. Minnesota struggled on 3rd down, especially 3rd and long, although they ran for a touchdown on 3rd and 15. Leidner to the air, has time, and the receiver fell down. It's picked off by Grant. Grant taking it back the other way. It's an Ohio State touchdown. But there is a penalty flag down back at midfield where the ball was thrown. Will this be interference and a first down for Minnesota, taking a touchdown off the board for Ohio State?
Pass interference, defense, number 12, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
Isaac Frichte, the receiver who was in the area. Dorian Grant on the coverage.
It looked like he fell down. Frichte goes down right there, and Dorian Grant I don't know. That could have gone either way. If Frichte was going down on his own, Grant had his hands on him, but I wouldn't be surprised if that flag wasn't thrown. I wouldn't have an argument.
How about that? So you go from a touchdown to Minnesota converting in 3rd and long, and now they have the ball in Ohio State territory.
Huge call.
Leidner, big hole. And he's able to move the pile to the 40-yard line to get the first down. Darren Lee was the first man there, but hard to tackle the biggest starting quarterback in the Big Ten at 6'4", 240.
What did Jerry Kill say yesterday? No turnovers. We cannot afford any turnovers. You get the sense that if that penalty flag's not thrown, Minnesota's going to have a hard time overcoming that. He got a little bit of a break. Now, what do they do with it on offense? Can they convert that into points at the +40 going in?
4th year for Jerry Kill as the Minnesota head coach. Won 8 games last year. First time since 2008. Trying to get there again this year. Roll off for Leidner. Looking deep. Got a man overthrown. KJ May had it, but the pass just passed his fingertips. 3rd and 2.
Great aggressive shot. Matt Linegrover, the offensive coordinator, calls the double move, rolls out, so you got plenty of time, and this ball just about a foot overthrown, but a great route by May. Take a look at the double move. Patience, got Doran Grant, and what a great time to call that after Doran Grant gets an interception for a touchdown. You know he's being aggressive. They just missed executing.
Yeah, they're confident they can get 3rd and 2 running the football. That's why they took the shot there. But it's another pass, and it's caught. First down inside the 35. It's Isaac Frichte who was the target on the interception that was negated because of interference on Grant. He makes the catch here, and they're inside the Ohio State 35.
Take a look at the hit that Joey Bosa puts on Mitch Leidner. He had to hold on to the ball. He wanted to throw it in the flat. Wasn't there. Came back inside, and Bosa caught him right under the chin.
Bosa's been in the backfield a lot today. Sack, tackle for a loss, but Minnesota with a first down. Not a heavy dose of Cobb yet for the Gophers. Here it comes. And Bosa got a hold of Cobb, but he won't go down. Stood up at the 32. Now, we were showing you Jerry Kill earlier. It's his 4th season. What a job he's done wherever he's been at some smaller schools like Emporia State in Kansas, then at Northern Illinois for 3 years, and now in his 4th year at Minnesota. They lost to TCU earlier this year. They turned the ball over 5 times in that game. They loved the Illinois game back on the road. Game they felt they should have won.
But a winning record now as the head coach at Minnesota. 24-23 in his 4th year. That's amazing.
Play action, Leidner in trouble, and he goes down. A sack at the 35-yard line. Josh Perry was back there. He had 18 tackles in the win against Penn State. It's a sack here to force a 3rd and 11.
Yeah, and I think, 2nd down here, you're trying to be aggressive and throw the ball down the field. The ball's got to come out. You got to come out. You can't take a sack. You got to stay on schedule if you're Minnesota. Now it's 3rd and 11. They wanted to throw that ball down the field to Max Williams, take another aggressive shot, but he was good coverage. Give Ohio State secondary credit.
See if they throw it or just play conservatively and run the ball to try to give their kicker a chance to tie it. It is a quarterback run, and Leidner goes nowhere. Ohio State all over that play, so no gain. Michael Bennett there first, and now it's a 52-yard field goal try for Santoso. Also, Peter Mortel has been terrific punting the football. Now, those have all been deep kicks. 4th down and about 11.
You can tell that this defense for Ohio State probably got a talking to at halftime from Urban Meyer. They have come out and been up to the task. They got the interception return for a touchdown. Big play was called back. They didn't give up the rest of this drive to Minnesota. They were able to come up with a stop.
Santoso, big guy, 6'6", 250. He's from Florida. True freshman, hasn't kicked in these conditions before. A 52-yarder. And the wind blows it off the upright. That thing was curving back. Looked like it might end up splitting the uprights. Instead, it's no good, and Ohio State will take over with very good field position after the miss.
Boy, mark that series down for the end of this game. Interception return for a touchdown. No penalty. And then this three-point opportunity comes up just shows hoping for some English on the sideline.
Tonight over on ESPN, Auburn looks to rebound as Todd Gurley and the Bulldogs look to stay alive in the SEC East race. ESPN College Football Primetime presented by Hampton Hotels, Auburn and Georgia. Minnesota with a chance to tie it, but Santoso's 52-yard field goal hits the upright. Now, he drilled this thing about halfway up that left upright.
Take a look at my man down here. You think he's not hoping that thing goes in? Ball boy.
It started left, and it began to hook back like it might make it between the uprights, but no good. And Ohio State will start on its 35-yard line. First possession of the second half of the Buckeye offense. And Ezekiel Elliott with a big run. Got about 8 before he's dragged down by Eric Murray. Let's bring in Tom Luganville.
Guys, Coach Jerry Kill is under no illusions in terms of how Minnesota has to play this game in order to win it. They've got to take chances on defense. He knows they've rolled the dice in terms of getting in cover zero, no middle safety help, which leaves you nobody to account for the quarterback. He feels like they can tackle the quarterback. They've got a chance because they like their matchups on the perimeter. And guys, another thing with JT Barrett, we see him here. You don't realize how big and physical he is as a runner until you're out here, and he's an enigma. He's hard to hold up. He's not very tall, but he weighs about 225 pounds. Minnesota's having a hard time dealing with him. Very slippery.
I think the speed was what stood out in the first half when he had that 86-yard run.
Well, and it's the counter motion from the quarterback position. The problem is when Ohio State spreads you out, they can throw the ball on the perimeter, but then they also run that ball in between the tackles, and they have a man-and-a-half advantage in the blocking scheme, and it's hard to get JT Barrett on the ground at 225 pounds.
Here's Marshall off the right side, and he's got the first down to the 41. I think you got to give JT Barrett, Urban Meyer, Tom Herman, the offensive coordinator, a ton of credit for getting JT Barrett prepared. I mean, imagine you lose your Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback about 2 weeks before the opener, and you have a tough game against Navy. It's always a tough team to prepare for. You turn around and play Virginia Tech. Barrett struggled in that game, but has bounced back and been as good as any quarterback in college football.
And he only had 19 days to prepare for that Virginia Tech game. Of course he's going to look rattled with that defense, but he has come back in a big way.
Barrett gets outside, again showing the speed, tripped up around the first down marker at the 31. And they did get the first down.
And I think you're going to see the adjustments here by Ohio State on the offensive side at halftime. Probably went in and said, listen, we need to settle down, protect the football. We don't need to take the chances downfield. Protect the football in the elements. Our running game, there are huge lanes for us to run the football. That's what happened consistently in the first half. No reason to differ in the second.
Elliott, he's grounded after a short gain. Best job Minnesota's done on this possession of stopping the run. You had Campbell in there. Devondre Campbell, 6'5", 240 as a linebacker. Cameron Botticelli in there as well. We're just down on the field prior to the game looking at Minnesota, and just body type, they look different than they have in the past.
They certainly have, and they've got some young guys at the linebacker position in Jonathan Celestin, Everett Williams, that are going to be great players for Jerry Kill going forward in this program. By the way, I was proud of you for going down the field in the snow. You were down there for about 35 seconds and you came back up.
Showed some toughness for an Arizona guy. Oh, Barrett's got a man wide open. An easy touchdown for Michael Thomas. Blown coverage by the Gophers. And Thomas, who wasn't wearing sleeves in the first half because he's from California, put him on in the second half. And a 30-yard touchdown.
You see Derek Wells and Eric Murray. Eric Murray thought he had help behind. The miscommunication there in the secondary, which is not normal for this Minnesota team. Their most experienced part of their team is in that secondary, and a blown coverage gives up 7 points.
And that is a new school record for touchdowns responsible for. JT Barrett in just 9.5 games, responsible for 37 touchdowns. And he's the nation's leader in that category, along with Marcus Mariota. A 10-point lead for the Buckeyes. 24-14 after the touchdown grab by Thomas. Buckeyes back in command. You're watching ESPN on ABC.
ESPN College Football, presented by Kay Jewelers. Kay Jewelers, the #1 jewelry store in America. Every kiss begins with K. And Honda, official music sponsor of ESPN College Football.
ESPN on ABC College Football, presented by Kay Jewelers. Ohio State leading Minnesota 24-14 on the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive game of the week. The snow continues to fall. The temperature continues to rise from 16 to 20. Midway through this third quarter, another touchdown pass for Barrett. He's thrown 2. He's also rushed for 1. Minnesota was down 14 in the first half, came back to tie it. Can the Gophers do it again? They got some help. Ohio State turned it over twice, and obviously that was a point of emphasis with Urban Meyer's conversation with Tom Luganville, and you would imagine the team in halftime.
The same alignment from this kickoff unit for Ohio State, all bunched up in the middle of the field.
Taken at the 5-yard line. Myrick, and he's drilled at the 20, and a penalty flag, which is likely against Minnesota. So that will back the Gophers up.
Illegal block in the back. Receiving team, number 81. 10-yard penalty. First down.
Let's take a look at today's Good Hands play, brought to you by Allstate.
Well, we're going to look at the last touchdown. This is Thompson here, the safety. Here's Murray at the top of the screen. And it's just a miscommunication. Thompson's going to come up. Murray's expecting to have help over the top. And those are 2 veteran guys in that secondary. And you play this kind of team, the number 8 team in the country, with this offense, you can't make it that easy. Those kinds of mistakes are what get you beat. And for Minnesota defensively, you cannot let that man throw the ball down the field that easily.
And so much at stake for both these teams. Obviously for Ohio State, still a shot to get into the playoffs. Buckeyes hoping to represent the East in the Big Ten championship game. Minnesota hoping to do the same for the West. And here's Leidner on the run, and he's up to the 15-yard line. Minnesota, Nebraska, and Wisconsin are all 4-1 in the West. Nebraska and Wisconsin play each other later today. Minnesota's at Nebraska next week, and then in Madison to close out the regular season.
Yeah, a lot of people weren't really buying into Minnesota because they haven't played those tough teams. You know, they've played Northwestern and Purdue and Illinois. And last week they opened some eyes against Iowa. That game opened some eyes, but you're right. They've got Ohio State, obviously, and then on the road to Nebraska and Wisconsin. But I think people watching this game understand this is a good football team.
Got a whistle and movement by Minnesota. Hurting themselves here in the second half.
Offense, number 85, 5-yard penalty, remains second down.
So here is what the 3 teams tied atop the Big Ten West have left. Nebraska closes out with Iowa. Wisconsin plays at Iowa next week. So any of these 3 could win it. And a lot depends today on the health of Amir Abdullah, you would think, in Nebraska's game in Madison.
And 3 solid teams. I don't know if one of those teams just jumps out at you and says they're much better than the other. But it'll be interesting to see who comes out of the West.
Only the 3rd carry for Cobb this half. And boy, here comes a flag. That looked like a face mask as Cobb was taken down. Darren Lee stuck his hand in there. And that'll be a 15-yard penalty and a first down.
Personal foul, face mask, defense number 43, 15-yard penalty, results in an automatic first down.
Yeah, when you turn the mask, you're going to get flagged. That's an easy call.
Darren Lee's been a surprise for this Ohio State defense at that linebacker position as a freshman playing. You know, a lot of people have talked about Raekwon McMillan, the very highly touted and recruited middle linebacker, who I think is going to be an outstanding player for Ohio State for a long time. But remember last year, that was the area of concern, was the linebacker position for Ohio State. And they've got some young talent there. You see McMillan, 6'3", 240 pounds. He already looks like a menace to be reckoned with.
Well, you know they're going to recruit at Ohio State. Done a good job so far. Leidner in trouble, and he gets walloped back inside the 20. That was going nowhere from the start. McMillan and Bosa back there for the Buckeyes.
Well, he's such a talented player, and now he's starting to understand the game. He's reading the blocks of the offensive line, understands the naked look, and he is all over Mitch Leidner. With that amount of speed and talent and size, Raekwon McMillan, you're going to hear that name a lot over the next, hopefully for Ohio State fans, 3 years.
Who knows? So a loss of 10 on the play. Donnell Kirkwood is in the game, and he'll get a carry here and breaks a tackle, gets away from another defender to the 30-yard line. So he got 12 of it back. It'll still be 3rd down and long.
No, Grease, you're right. Last year, the linebacking core was a real issue for Ohio State. And Raekwon McMillan, we talk about it all the time, one of those guys in recruiting that was an early enrollee. So he got acclimated academically into their winter conditioning program, participated in spring ball. They knew they were going to have to rely upon him along with Curtis Grant. He might be one of the most physically tough and smart middle linebackers we've evaluated. Our #1 ranked linebacker last year in the ESPN 300 and Under Armour All-American.
That was Luke Fickell, the defensive coordinator, as Leidner throws deep, going for Max Williams. Williams juggled it and hung on. 1st down, Gophers. The big tight end finally comes through when Minnesota needed a play.
We mentioned it. Just throw the ball up to the big man. 6'5", 240. That's Doran Grant again. And what great concentration. That's what excites Minnesota fans so much and their coaches about Max Williams, is his concentration, his physical play. He's made plays time and again for this Minnesota offense.
Got 36 yards there. He had a couple catches last week that most receivers can't make. Here's Cobb trying to find a hole. It's not there. Slam down. Adolphus Washington and Bosa. He had McMillan back there as well. So no gain on the play.
The adjustment for Ohio State in the second half on defense has been pretty clear here in the first couple of drives. They are not concerned about Minnesota throwing the football. They're going to get Tyvis Powell and Von Bell in to the line of scrimmage. You see there Luke Fickell and Chris Ash. Chris Ash brought on to be more aggressive on the defensive side, and they want to get those guys involved in the front 7 in the running game.
Here comes a reverse. Now May looking to pass, and he's brought down for a loss at the 41 by Darren Lee. Now they're out of field goal range. Great read by the freshman linebacker Darren Lee. A loss of a handful.
They were trying to get the ball downfield to Max Williams. Here he is here. He's going to sneak out. Watch, he's going to fall down. May gets the pitch, and then Williams falls down. He gets tripped up. That's where they were going to go with the football. Ohio State a little bit fortunate there, because you throw that ball up to the 6'5" tight end, and it could have been an easy touchdown.
And now you're in a situation where, how does this impact your play calling? 3rd and 17. We've seen the leg strength of Santoso. You think you got to get 5 or 6 yards to give him another shot. But they're going to pass. Leidner over the middle, high, and picked off. Intercepted at the 20-yard line. It's Doran Grant. Grant brings it back to the 44. Minnesota with a chance to get points. Instead, they turn it over. The first one today by the Gophers.
Well, I think it was a force downfield. The ball is tipped by the tight end. Really this is a tough throw in between the safety and the linebacker. Gets tipped and then ricochets. You know, what I would have liked to see there from Minnesota is you can take a shot downfield, and if you don't make it, then you punt the ball down, right? At least have the field position.
So a turnover by Minnesota. Ohio State with the ball in command by 10. ESPN on ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers. Ohio State leading Minnesota 24-14 on the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive Game of the Week. It's a mission that could cost an agent's life. Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is all new Tuesday at 9, 8 Central on ABC. Well, Doran Grant had a pick 6 taken away because of an interference penalty. He gets it back when Minnesota was in position maybe to get a field goal and make it a 1-possession game. We'll see now how Urban Meyer handles this offensively with excellent starting field position at the Ohio State 45. And a fumble on the play. Barrett jumps back on it. So the Buckeyes keep possession, a 2-yard loss. Here's Robert Flores in the studio.
All right, Dave, Dr. Pepper conference update from the ACC. We'd like to welcome those of you who have been watching Georgia Tech and Clemson on ESPN. Cole Stout throwing his second pick 6 of the day. Deshaun Watson is out of this game with a leg injury. Clemson has gone with their third-string quarterback. They're down 25-6.
Here at 2nd down and 12 for the Buckeyes. The late pitch to Elliott, and he breaks tackles. Elliott finally brought down near midfield by Damian Wilson. This is a huge 3rd down for Minnesota as we close in on the final minutes of the 3rd quarter. 3rd down and 4 for Ohio State. The Buckeyes, one of the best teams in the country on 3rd down, and they have 6 of 8 today. 3rd down situation.
And one of the big reasons why is in these situations, Urban Meyer knows he does not have to throw the football to get a 1st down. He's got plenty of weapons to run the ball and get a 1st down. 0 coverage again from Minnesota.
They bring Marshall into the backfield. They fake the pitch. Barrett wrapped up and tackle. Gain of 2, 4th down. Does Ohio State take a chance and go for it, or does Urban elect to punt the ball deep here?
Great play by Devondre Campbell, the linebacker. Same thing. Here he is right here. Take a look. Same quarterback. Counter play. The fake pitch. Watch Campbell fold back in. And with the size that Campbell has at 240 pounds, easily gets J.T. Barrett on the ground.
If it wasn't him making the hit, maybe Barrett does get the 1st down.
And that's what Jerry Kill told us at halftime was, look, we're going to continue to play the same aggressive style. For us to get the numbers on the quarterback run game, we've got to play 0 coverage.
Cameron Johnston has not had a good day punting the football. This isn't bad. Could have been a lot worse for Minnesota. Fair catch made at the 18-yard line by Craig James. And now Minnesota, you'd think, has to score, knowing that possessions are going to be few here in the final frame. Tonight on ABC, Jameis Winston and the undefeated Seminoles take on Miami. Saturday Night Football. Everybody down on Florida State, despite the fact they haven't lost a game in 2 years.
Yeah, well, but most importantly, the committee has been down on Florida State and moved them from 2 to 3, and I can't argue with them. I cannot argue with them.
Ohio State at 8 in the latest college football playoff rankings. Trying to keep hopes alive of a spot on the Final Four. 1st down for the Golden Gophers. Just shy of their 20-yard line. Here's Cobb through a hole, and Cobb wrapped up near the 1st down. 9-yard pickup there. Josh Perry on the tackle. Cobb is over 100 yards on the day, over 1,300 on the season, and over 2,500 the last 2 years after barely playing the first 2 years. Meanwhile, Josh Perry shaken up for Ohio State. Boy, I'm surprised on a day like this, as cold as it is, we haven't seen more guys down.
And a physical game, too. It's going to be a physical game here in the 2nd half. Minnesota up front, they want to be physical. It's a long day for a linebacker when you have a physical offensive line and a physical back in David Cobb coming downhill at you. Hopefully he just got the wind knocked out of him when Cobb fell down on top of him.
Game was tied at 14, and then Ohio State, as the first half came to an end, got a 22-yard field goal to take a 3-point lead. The only score in the 2nd half has been by Ohio State. Touchdown pass by Barrett. Minnesota with the 2nd down and short.
They're going to let the 3rd quarter run out. If you would have told Jerry Kill that you're headed in the 4th quarter, it's still within striking distance, I think he would have taken it.
10-point lead for the Buckeyes as we go to the 4th. ESPN on ABC College Football, presented by Kay Jewelers, will continue after this message and a word from our ABC stations.
ESPN is your home of the new college football playoff.
Dave Pashburn, Greasy Tom Luganbill, as we look at our Pacific Life game summary. J.T. Barrett with 3 total touchdowns, giving him 37 accounted for this year. That breaks Braxton Miller's school record. Meanwhile, Cobb only 15 rushing yards this half. Third straight game that Thomas has a touchdown catch for Ohio State. That was the only score in the third quarter. And Minnesota with the ball, trailing by 10, second down and 1 at the Gopher 27 on Senior Day. Last chance for the Gopher fans to cheer on their team here at home.
The pack of Gophers having fun there.
Minnesota's in Lincoln next week, then Madison to close out the regular season. And they'll keep it here with Leidner, and he's able to move the sticks. Got the first down to the 29-yard line. Near the 30. How many possessions will Minnesota get? Down 10. They'd love a nice long drive here, get something out of it. They had a chance on the last possession to get at least a field goal, but a turnover, a pick by Leidner ended their hopes of that.
With this Ohio State defensive line having 4 guys that play just about every snap on defense, how will they fare in the fourth quarter?
Here's Cobb, finds a crease. An ankle tackle past the 35 by Darren Lee. Been a lot of ankle tackles on David Cobb. And I think he was just frustrated there, saying it happened again. I thought I had a touchdown.
Well, this is the time of the game where David Cobb and the physical nature starts to take his toll. And Minnesota wanted to get this game to the fourth quarter and see if they could begin to wear down that defensive line and start to break some of those big runs. And Cobb knows he was close.
8 yards there. So second down and 2. And Cobb this time stood up. Forward progress will put him right at the first down marker. Like a good spot. Here, a Minnesota fan, Josh Perry, who was shaken up earlier but back on the field, was the first man there. And they'll spot him just short. So third down and a yard here for Minnesota.
And this is a good scenario for Minnesota. You know, you have a positive play on first down, and you get in third and short situations. They feel very comfortable with either Mitch Leidner or David Cobb and their size and strength and ability to convert.
They bring Max Williams into the backfield here, and it will be Leidner. And he gets some help, but a flag down. Max Williams came in there and drilled his quarterback. Flag was thrown on the far sideline.
Illegal formation on the offense. 5 men in the backfield. 5-yard penalty. Replay, third down.
And Jerry Kill knows that's a penalty you just can't have in this situation.
And that's a killer because they had converted the first down. And now they're going to be in a situation where they may need to throw the football. And they're only 4 of 11 on the day throwing the football.
So you go from 1st and 10 to a third down and 6 at the 34-yard line.
And it infuriates a coach like Jerry Kill because you have guys up front, offensive linemen that are coming off the ball, getting first downs and controlling the game, and you have a wide receiver that doesn't get on the ball.
Now they spread it out here on third down and 6. Leidner rolling to his right and looking into traffic. It's intercepted again, this time by Von Bell. And Bell is to the Minnesota 30. Back-to-back picks thrown by Leidner. And Ohio State will take over deep in Minnesota territory.
Well, and it's trying to flood one side of the field, and the problem is it's too congested. You're going to see, you can run it here, guys. You're going to see there's going to be 2 guys running an out route, and he's trying to get the ball to May, freeze it there. See right here, there's Von Bell, and he's just waiting on that. You can't throw that ball back like that in a congested area, but you knew that for Minnesota to convert on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, they're going to have to throw the ball. They just haven't had that consistency throwing the ball today. So that penalty, after converting that third down, is huge.
Well, think about it. They had 2nd and 2. 2nd and 2, then 3rd and 1, and then with a penalty 3rd and 6. And that's not where Minnesota's successful. Not many teams are. Elliott met at the point of attack and dropped. Minimal gain there. Jack Lynn, the first man to greet Elliott, as Minnesota knows it has to hold Ohio State to a field goal here. Second down and 9 for the Buckeyes. Ohio State trying to get to 9-1, 6-0 in Big Ten play. They have not lost under Urban Meyer in a Big Ten regular season game. 32-3 with the losses. Virginia Tech out of conference, Michigan State in the Big Ten championship, and Clemson in the bowl game. Elliott rumbles to the 26. A 6-yard gain, so a manageable third down here. Run or pass options, you would imagine, for Ohio State. 13th year, only 13th year coaching for Urban Meyer as a head coach. You think he's been around forever, but he's only 50. 13th year as a head coach. Success, Bowling Green, Utah. 2 titles at Florida, trying to bring a championship. Ohio State, they had an undefeated season his first year, but they were not eligible because of violations by the previous staff under Jim Tressel. 3rd down and 4. Barrett, little roll to the left, and the catch made by Marshall for a first down. Spun out of play inside the 20.
And it's a simple rollout here. Jalen Marshall is taking over for Dontre Wilson, who was injured. And you see that was Thompson, the safety, who just did not have the right angle. He tried to play between Marshall and Barrett and just didn't have the right angle, and it was an easy conversion.
Ten straight points by the Buckeyes after Minnesota tied it late in the first half. Barrett pulls it back and throws high. They just have thrown it away that time, seeing double coverage. Devin Smith, the intended receiver.
Go back and take a look. This is the 3rd down penalty. Both these guys are off the line of scrimmage. That leaves only 6 on the ball. 5 guys in the backfield, and that's why Minnesota was forced with that penalty. After they converted, you see clearly they're off the ball. It's a good call by that official. It was a big penalty in the course of this game for Minnesota.
Again, something had nothing to do with the play, right? I mean, you line up as a receiver wide, you know the ball's not coming out that way anyway. You just kind of fell asleep.
It's the details.
On 2nd down, they run an end around, and Corey Smith is tackled for a loss by Jack Lynn. That is a huge play. So now it's 3rd down and 12 for Ohio State. And again, Minnesota has to get a stop here. If they get down 17, this game's over. They need to have it be a 13-point deficit at worst.
Well, and I think they're going to play their same defense and probably have no safety in the middle of the field here. But Ohio State has converted these 3rd downs, even the 3rd and longs, Dave, with running the football with J.T. Barrett and that quarterback counter action. Wouldn't be surprised they did it again here.
So it's 3rd and 12. See if they do it. Going to be a pass. Barrett trying to set up a wide receiver screen. Look out, it's going to be a touchdown. Well designed as Evan Spencer takes it in and maybe puts away the Gophers. What a great design on 3rd and 12. A 22-yard touchdown pass. The 3rd today for Barrett.
Great call by Tom Herman, the offensive coordinator. They've got the blitz off the edge. You get the block by Vanette. Get the ball in the hands of Evan Spencer, and you know you're going to have 0 coverage. There's nobody left. Perfect call for Ohio State.
Nurnberger on for the extra point. And that's 17 straight by Ohio State.
It's been a physical game all game. You know what you're going to get on defense if you're Urban Meyer and you dial this play up. This slip screen is a great call against an all-out pressure and 0. And Urban Meyer with a sly little grin.
Driving conditions not so good here, but they'll be great in Miami for the Ford EcoBoost 400 Sunday at 1 Eastern on ESPN. 4 drivers, 39 spoilers, 1 race. Kevin Harvick, Joey Logano, Denny Hamlin, Ryan Newman drive for their first championship. Jeff Gordon on the pole. Temperature up to about 21.
How do you think those NASCARs would operate on that road right there?
Might be fun to watch as long as there were no fans around.
Put some bumpers.
J.T. Barrett saw his racing ability in the first quarter. 86-yard touchdown run. He also has 3 touchdown passes. He now has 29 touchdown passes on the year. The school record for Ohio State is 30 by Troy Smith in 2006. And there's still 2 regular season games left. That kick goes out of bounds, so good field position for Minnesota. But is it too late? Down 17 with 10 minutes left.
Free kick out of bounds. Ball will be placed at the 35-yard line.
Minnesota ball when we come back.
ESPN College Football presented by Kay Jewelers. Brought to you by Pacific Life. For insurance, annuities, and investments, choose Pacific Life, the power to help you succeed. Cadillac. And Dr. Pepper, always one of a kind.
ESPN and ABC College Football presented by Kay Jewelers continues with Ohio State scoring 17 unanswered points, leading Minnesota on the Dr. Pepper Championship Drive game of the week. 31-14 Buckeyes. The Gophers with the first down on their 35-yard line. Interceptions on the last two possessions, though, by Mitch Leitner. Now do they have to throw it here? They'll keep it on the ground on first down. David Cobb wrestled to the ground by Adolphus Washington for no gain. Our college football playoff rankings brought to you by Vizio. Mississippi State and Alabama today at 3:30. Florida State on ABC tonight. Arizona State tonight on ESPN. Auburn, Georgia as well. Ohio State back in the conversation, but a lot has to happen in front of the Buckeyes, assuming they continue to win.
Well, Ohio State fans will be rooting for the Hurricanes tonight, that's for sure. That would be one to get Florida State. And then, you know, the TCU game, the way TCU beat Minnesota 30-7 is naturally going to be compared with how this game finally ends up in the win column for Ohio State.
Cobb, beautiful cutback, got the first down to the 46-yard line.
But the big issue is the strength of schedule for Ohio State. They've beaten one top 25 team, and that's Michigan State. Now this, if they hold on today, will be the second. Will certainly help. But you see the schedule, and as you compare it to those top 6 teams in the country, that's why Ohio State still remains on the periphery.
Well, they're the only team in the top 10 with a loss against a team that's under 500. Now, when Virginia Tech won that game, a lot of people said, oh, hey, the Hokies might be a team to watch in the ACC, but then they lost consecutive games. On first down, going to be a play. Pass, and Leitner rolling out. Look out. Almost threw another pick. Diving attempt by Apple.
No, guys, we talk so much about perception of a football team or perception of a conference, and you could argue, we referenced it earlier, 5 teams in the college football playoff rankings out of the Big Ten. Could argue that the ACC's perception now has taken a bigger hit than the Big Ten's, but a lot's going to happen. There's going to have to be some implosion in the Big 12. I think there's going to have to be some disruption, certainly into the Pac-12 potentially for Ohio State to keep moving up. And Florida State, I believe, would have to lose tonight to be the first domino to fall to help Ohio State continue to climb.
Well, yeah, Tom, they could lose to the Florida Gators if they don't lose tonight as well. Florida Gators are looking better. They're playing South Carolina today. So, you know, I think there's a lot of dominoes still out there. I think the strength of schedule for Urban Meyer and Ohio State may end up being a bigger factor than that loss to Virginia Tech. Because if the committee ends up completely staying close to the rubric that they said, what are the best teams in college football, you have to look at the improvement that Ohio State has made over the course of the year. They are a completely different team than they were in week 2. Completely different offense with a quarterback that's playing as good as anybody in the country.
It's the best teams in December, not the best teams for the whole season. And that's how they're going to evaluate it as that pass is overthrown. They have to look at the body of work, but ultimately you're going to put the 4 teams you think are the best right now in the playoffs.
Yeah. Well, and so, you know, one of TCU or Baylor, one of those two you had to think is going to be there at the end. Baylor beats Kansas State, you think they're going to jump TCU because of the head-to-head. Oregon and Arizona State are going to ultimately play. You know, if they win out, they're going to play in the Pac-12 championship. And when you think about Ohio State, you have to look at the Oregon game too, right? Oregon beat Michigan State. Ohio State beat Michigan State. That comparison might come into play for the college football playoff committee.
There's the punt, and the fair catch is muffed, and Minnesota recovers at the 14. Miles Thomas recovered, as that's the 3rd time Marshall has either muffed or fumbled the football today. A fumble in the end zone, 2 muffs on punt returns, and Minnesota not done just yet, perhaps.
Well, and this is a familiar theme for Ohio State. It was Dontre Wilson, right? Who's had trouble in these kinds of situations holding on to the football. And now Jalen Marshall, who everybody's been excited about potentially being a replacement for Dontre Wilson. More of the same, albeit in a little bit of a different environment with the elements today.
But can Minnesota score? The Gophers have been shut out by this Ohio State defense here in the second half. Here's Cobb. And there just hasn't been a lot of running room for him, and done a good job at the point of attack on the defensive line. Joey Bosa, a terrific player. We've seen him rush the passer all year. He's just as good against the run. He's got 10 tackles today, a sack and a tackle for a loss. 2nd down.
Well, in this scenario, I know that Mitch Leidner has had a nightmarish game so far throwing the football with the turnovers, inability to get anything going in the passing game. I would still give him the opportunity just to throw the ball up in the end zone to Max Williams, because got a 50-50 chance of him coming down with it.
That took a long time there in the huddle as well, and wasting precious seconds here as we close in on 7 minutes to go. Cobb again through a crease, and he's in for the Minnesota touchdown. 3rd one today for David Cobb. Cobb doing what he can to keep the Gophers' hopes alive on his final home game as a Gopher. 3 rushing touchdowns, 11 on the year.
And all 3 of those touchdowns, Dave, have come off of turnovers by Ohio State. That's been really the only way that Minnesota has been able to get the ball in the end zone.
Santoso for the point after. Now it comes down to whether Minnesota can get a stop. 2-possession game, 10-point lead for Ohio State. Jalen Marshall has had his trouble. Put the ball on the ground 3 times. Meanwhile, David Cobb has found the end zone 3 times.
I'm Robert Flores in our college football studios with this update brought to you by AT&T. Inside the headset, Virginia Tech's Michael Brewer has thrown for 2 touchdowns, this one to Bucky Hodges. And the Hokies are leading number 21 Duke by 1 point in the 4th quarter on ESPNU. Dave.
Well, we saw Clemson losing also to Georgia Tech, so some upsets today in college football. Looked like we might have one here for a while. It was tied at 14, but then Ohio State got a field goal late in the first half and a touchdown to make it a 10-point game. Minnesota had a field goal that went off the upright from 52 yards. And then a muffed punt by Jalen Marshall that was recovered by Minnesota. The Gophers, we saw Kerry Coombs, a special teams coach, talking with Urban Meyer, expecting an onside kick here from the Gophers. They shift everybody around. Instead, it's going to be a kick deep. Curtis Samuel from the 5-yard line. And Samuel makes it to the 20, and that's it. Can Minnesota's defense get a stop? It's been a problem today for the Gophers defense. Couple big plays by Ohio State. Here's the touchdown to Thomas to put the Buckeyes up 10. And then Evan Spencer on 3rd down takes it in to make it 31-14. Then Marshall just moments ago could not handle the punt, recovered. And then David Cobb with his 3rd rushing touchdown to get Minnesota within 10. But again, the missed field goal by the Gophers and the made field goal with time running out at the end of the first half. That's big. That can be a 1-possession game right now with 7 minutes left. As it is, Ohio State by 10, and here's Barrett. Saw something, a big gap in the middle of the defense, and he takes it to the 27. Or the 27 for about 7 yards. Here are the mistakes that we're talking about here. And if he called this a miscue, he hit it way up the upright. Would have been good from 60. That was curving back to the middle, too. Barrett with a great day all around again. 4 total touchdowns. Marshall had one of those touchdowns, a reception and run after the catch, but he's had 3 times where he's put the ball on the ground. 2 muff punts and a fumble as he was going in to score. 2nd and 3. And Elliott close to the 1st down, should have it at the 30.
It's interesting that Dontre Wilson is still in this, or sorry, that Jalen Marshall, who's replacing Dontre Wilson, is still in this game and a part of this offense with the troubles that he's had holding on to the football. But I think Urban Meyer realizes that this is a player that's got special talent and is going to be a part of this program for a long time, to show the faith in him in this kind of environment, even though he's made some mistakes, trying to build the character of a player for the future.
And he's always talked about, I don't get on players a lot when they make mistakes. I usually get on them when things are going well to try to continue to motivate them and get them to the next level. They know what they did wrong when they make mistakes. Here's Barrett, and he gets Tackled for a short gain. Derek Wells trying to strip the ball, could not. Clock running, 5.5 and counting.
And that's exactly what Minnesota needs to do defensively. They have got to try to get after that football. When you get one guy to the quarterback and you stand him up, the other guys come and try to put a hat on the ball or strip that ball out. As we mentioned, all 3 of the touchdowns from Minnesota have come off of turnovers, and Minnesota sure could use one more. This is not normal for Ohio State in these kind of situations, 4-minute situations on offense to take their time.
Couple more first downs, game might be over. And here's Elliott up to the 35. So we got 5, put him in 3rd and 5, and the next snap will come with about 4:20 on the clock. Minnesota absolutely has to get a stop here.
And if I'm Minnesota, I'm selling out on J.T. Barrett and on Ezekiel Elliott. I'm not concerned at all about the perimeter game or any kind of pass in this situation. I would have 8 guys up around the football in the box.
Ohio State 7th in the country in 3rd down conversion percentage. They're right around 80% today. 3rd down and 5. Barrett on the run. And he tries to cut it back. Breaks a tackle and gets the first down. Damian Wilson with a hit, but give J.T. Barrett credit again running the football. That was a quarterback run all the way.
I think it was Jalen Myrick coming up from the safety position that had a chance. You're going to see a bolt of yellow from right to left on your screen right there, who just whiffed. And if he had gotten, Jerry Kill knows, if he had gotten at least a little bit of J.T. Barrett, it may have got a 4th down. But give J.T. Barrett credit. He has been elusive, and you see 191 yards on the ground, a new school record for a quarterback.
And with 3.5 to go, again, a couple more first downs. Game could be over. Here's Elliott, and he gets the first down for Ohio State. Only the 10th game that J.T. Barrett has played, and through this point, 10 games in the season, he has accounted for 38 touchdowns. At this stage of their careers, Braxton Miller and Terrell Pryor had less than half that number. I mean, that tells you what this guy's been able to do. And he thought going into camp he was going to be the third-string quarterback. Yeah. Now he's a starter and he got a chance to win a Big Ten championship.
He was in a competition with Cardale Jones for the backup role. That was his sole focus all summer, coming in knowing that Braxton Miller is going to be the guy. And then, you know, on that fateful day in August at preseason camp, Braxton Miller goes down, and all of a sudden, as you see Ezekiel Elliott up the middle, all of a sudden J.T. Barrett is now in a position where this entire season and this talented team is on his shoulders, and he has done nothing but get better every single week. You got to have a lot of respect for a guy like that.
I'm Robert Flores. Coming up at the bottom of the hour here on ABC, another Big Ten battle as it's Amir Abdullah and Nebraska visiting Wisconsin. Good running back matchup here. Abdullah and Wisconsin's Melvin Gordon. That's coming up on ABC, guys.
And if Ohio State wins, who knows, they could face the winner of that game in the Big Ten championship, although Minnesota still plays Nebraska and Wisconsin. So the Gophers, even with a loss today, could still win the Big Ten West. Great day for J.T. Barrett. And the Buckeyes trying to close out the Gophers inside 3 minutes to go, leading by 10. Second down and 5. Quarterback run all the way for Barrett, and he's met by Campbell in the hole. He gets to the 42. Tonight on ESPN, Auburn looking to bounce back, and Todd Gurley is back for Georgia. The Bulldogs hold a tiebreaker with Missouri in the SEC East, so if Georgia keeps winning, they could go to the SEC title game. The ESPN College Football Primetime presented by Hampton Hotels. Timeout taken by Minnesota, 1 remaining. Just finish up on the J.T. Barrett story. Brian, you talked about that fateful day at practice. You were there when Braxton Miller was injured, and J.T. Barrett was called upon to step in and take over for a guy that was the Big Ten Player of the Year. And now Barrett himself could be the Big Ten Player of the Year. How has he changed? How has his team changed since that day?
Well, you know, when I was at practice, you see a guy go down like Braxton Miller. The air was sucked out of the entire team on that practice field. And I remember I had to look down at my roster to see who number 16 was, because he was going in to take the reps. And nobody knew who JT Barrett was. And now, as you fast forward to the Virginia Tech game, and he struggles and he throws 3 interceptions, and it was a nightmare. And now the growth that he's made, the growth that this entire offense has made, this offensive line has made, you have to respect JT Barrett and the job that he's done. You have to respect Tom Herman and Urban Meyer and the job that they've done. And they are unquestionably one of the best offenses in all of college football now. And to say that in the same season, only 3 months later from when he found out that this was going to be his job. And then the question is, next year, when Braxton Miller's healthy in spring, what is Urban Meyer going to do? I think that's on everybody's mind in Columbus.
Barrett on 3rd down and 3. Hit by Campbell and taken down. It'll be 4th down. Bring it Tom.
You know, you talk about that competition in the spring with Braxton Miller, and because of what Braxton Miller has done, the plays that he's made for this offense, as we've got a Minnesota timeout here with just 2:41 remaining in the 4th quarter. I think what it's really going to come down to, and having spent some time with Urban Meyer and Tom Herman and that staff and those quarterbacks, it's going to come down to Braxton Miller's commitment to the game, because if there's one area that JT Barrett has probably far exceeded expectations and really devoted himself to, it's studying the game and understanding what's asked of him. The aptitude to process, take it from the meeting room to the practice field to the game, has incrementally grown to the level that Tom Herman is going to have a difficult decision on his hands. But if Braxton Miller doesn't commit the same way, the decision could be made much easier.
That's a great point, Tom. I mean, it's you get a taste of a quarterback, if you're Urban Meyer, that understands and learns and executes what you try to create in your mind as a play unfolds, and that you get used to that. And it's very difficult to go back to a scenario where you have Braxton Miller, who just was growing in that process, but still was just a playmaker.
Punt sails into the end zone. It'll be a touchback. Minnesota needs 10 points with 2:34 remaining. JT Barrett, fantastic last week in East Lansing. Excellent again today. This 86-yard rushing touchdown, the longest from scrimmage. Remember, there's a guy with a bad left knee. Longest from scrimmage this season. And then Barrett surveying the field, finds Marshall. A bad defense there on Marshall for a touchdown. Then he's got a wide open Michael Thomas here for a score.
You know, and I think, you know, when you look at all these plays, you see good decisions on all of them. You know, you see aggressive decisions when you should be aggressive. You see conservative, just get 6 or 7 yards when you need to do that. The numbers have been eye-popping. 500 passing yards in the last 2 weeks, but the numbers are not what impressed me the most. I go back to the Penn State game in the second half of that game when JT Barrett had adversity, right? As you see this pass to Max Williams, the outside, there was adversity. They were down. They were up 17-0, and Penn State comes back, and you go into overtime, and he's hurt with the MCL.
Yeah.
And the toughness that he showed in that overtime to run 2 times into the end zone, that leadership and that toughness, that's what has impressed me most about JT Barrett this year.
One of those touchdowns in overtime was on 4th down, too. Leidner. And pass on the money to Frichte for a first down. 2:16 remaining. No timeouts, though, for the Gophers, trailing by 10. They need to score some kind. Field goal or a touchdown, then they have to get the onside kick. Leidner stepping up and looking for the sideline. Can he get there? No. Clock will continue to run. He did not get the first down. Or did he?
Looks like he did. Yeah, looks like.
No, the clock's running. Second and 1.
I call him short.
Sometimes we'll stop to measure, and then especially in this situation when it's close, but they didn't. So about 10 seconds tick off the clock. Now on 2nd down and short. Dropped. Frichte may have slipped, but still should have pulled that in. So it's 3rd down and 1.
And Minnesota still has all 3 timeouts. So, sorry, Ohio State has all 3 timeouts. Minnesota has no timeouts. So when they get this first down, they need to have 2 plays called in the huddle so that they don't waste any time at the line of scrimmage.
They get the first down again. The clock will stop to reset the chains. There's some movement there. Flag down. Zach Epping, the left guard, moved. That's why Ohio State was into the neutral zone.
Number 52, 5-yard penalty. Remains third down.
Right in the middle of the offensive line, just a little wiggle.
And that's important there too, Grease, because look, 3rd and 1, they could run the ball, get the first down, and then that clock will stop as everybody gets reset. You don't lose a lot of time because you're close to the line of scrimmage there by the time they restart the clock.
Yeah, at this point in time, you're throwing the ball on every down. You need chunks of yardage too, with needing 2 scores.
Leidner on 3rd down and 6. And Frichte able to make the catch. He came back, looked like he had the first down initially, then was pushed back. He did get out of bounds and got the first down.
That's a goal.
1:40 on the clock. Gophers down 10. Leidner into traffic, knocked down by Von Bell. May, the intended receiver. I think Ohio State's defense, struggled last week. They played pretty well today. They had a quick change, that interception where they had to get on the field on the short field and gave up a touchdown. Also with the muff punt by Jalen Marshall, that gave Minnesota the ball inside the 20.
Yeah, I think the thing last week was Jeremy Langford kind of carved him up a little bit, and today Cobb did as well.
Leidner running, and he's got room. Inside the 30, Leidner inside the 20. We'll stop the clock to get the chain gang down there to the 17-yard line. 1:25 left.
Yeah, if you're Leidner, you need to get going. Get up to the line of scrimmage. Get your play called.
Now remember, you can kick a field goal here if you want to. Spike the ball. And how do you handle this? You're in a situation where it's about a 35, 40-yard field goal. Would you do it here? Do you run a couple plays? No, they're going to bring the field goal team out. Let's say get the points and then get the onside kick to give us a chance.
And there's no right or wrong answer there. You can do it both ways. You could take 3 shots at the end zone with Max Williams, but you can't argue with this decision with Jerry Kill either. You got to have the 3 to tie this game up, so go ahead and get it.
33-yard attempt for Santoso. Try to keep Minnesota in it. Urban's going to call a timeout. That'll leave Ohio State with 2. But Jerry Kill was all over that, realizing, we need to get something on this drive. We don't want to take too much time off because we want to have enough time if we get the onside kick to go down and get the touchdown. Santoso attempted a 52-yard field goal earlier in the game. He had made one earlier this season. It started dead left and started to hook right, but not enough. It hit the left upright. Jerry Kill knew how important those 3 points were and would be later in the game. I mean, think about it. That is good. Or if Ohio State doesn't get that field goal as time expires at the end of the first half, now Minnesota may be in a position to tie the game.
Just to be in this position for Minnesota and for Jerry Kill to be in a late in the fourth quarter against Ohio State, number 8 team in the country, sitting at 7-2 with your own record, and to be in this game competitively, you cannot say enough about the job that Jerry Kill has done here in Minnesota. Shouldn't come as a surprise. He's done it everywhere he's been, from small schools all the way up to now being in the Big Ten. It doesn't matter. He has turned programs around and done it fast.
33-yard attempt by Ryan Santoso. Another timeout by Ohio State. Fans don't like it here, but can't take them with you to the game next week at home against Indiana. So Ohio State going to use him here and try to ice the kicker, who's already pretty darn cold. He's from Florida.
Yeah, he's from Florida. But he's also really big, 6'6", 245-pound kicker, probably the biggest kicker in all of college football. But if you had the timeouts, why not use it?
Yeah, if Ohio State ends up winning this game, Urban Meyer will be happy. He said at Florida, when things, even though they were winning games, it was never enough. That was one of the reasons why he stepped away. He says now he enjoys every victory. Right. But big picture, he's going to look at this and say, man, is this going to be good enough to impress the committee? Because there's 13 people that will ultimately decide their fate, even if they win out.
Well, that's the challenge. That's always going to be the challenge, and it's going to be, compared directly to that TCU win over Minnesota early in the year. Whether that's fair or not, these teams are completely different beginning to the end of year, but Well, that's the challenge that you're up against. It's not just Urban Meyer, it's every team out there playing.
All right, Santoso, will he get a chance here for a 33-yard field goal? Try to make it a one-possession game. And the kick is good. And Minnesota's not done. Can they recover an onside kick?
It's an impressive kicker here. I mean, that one that he ricocheted off the upright was a long kick. He's got plenty of leg. You see how big he is. And he gets a lot of torque on that leg. And it's an impressive kicker.
Officially 34 yards. Let's check in with Robert Flores before the onside kick.
Hey, Dave, Florida already had teammates blocking each other again today. And then this happened just moments ago. South Carolina's Carlton Head with the block. That led to a game-tying touchdown, and they're about to go into overtime on the SEC Network. Coming up here, Melvin Gordon in Wisconsin hosting Amir Abdullah in Nebraska. More Big Ten action coming up bottom of the hour here on ABC.
And Minnesota with a chance. If it recovers the onside kick, no timeouts. They need a touchdown. 1:19 on the clock. They'll have to go about 60 yards or so. They have not recovered an onside kick since 2011, and this is their first attempt this season. This is the game right here. If Ohio State recovers, the Buckeyes win. If Minnesota recovers, maybe a lot of nervous fans in Columbus and on the Ohio State sideline for 79 more seconds. Andrew Hart lining up to kick it. And he kicks it straight ahead, and it's an easy recovery for Ohio State. That was one of the worst onside kicks I've seen this year.
Well, sometimes the kicker will find a defensive player up front and kick it at him, but this goes right to Jeff Hireman. Hireman has some of the best hands on the team, and he kicked it soft. You want to kick that thing hard. Maybe you get a ricochet, and Urban doesn't care what it looked like, just the fact that he got it.
I told you about him enjoying each win, and he told us this week, and Minnesota's good. That was the first thing that came out of his mouth. We're not underestimating Minnesota at all, and I don't think that was the case. I don't think the players did. I don't think the coaches did. I think Minnesota's just a good football team.
Yeah. And Ohio State was ready to play. They came in ready to play. They had some turnovers, which you don't want to see, but you come into these elements after the emotional game last week against Michigan State, on the road, playing early, in the cold. You know, I think they came out and they were ready to play. And when people look at this final score, they need to understand that Minnesota's a darn good football team.
So Minnesota will drop to 7-3, 4-2 in the West. Here on Senior Day, final chance for a lot of these Gophers to play in front of the home crowd, and there's one of them, Damian Wilson.
Damian Wilson and Cedric Thompson. The game that David Cobb had here, you know, and Cobb and Wilson are cousins, playing in the last game here. Emotional leaders, been a big part of Jerry Kill turning this program around. They can go out with their head held high with the way they played in this game.
Ohio State 9-1, 6-0 in the Big Ten. The Buckeyes play their final 2 regular season games at home. They have Indiana, then Michigan. That's now 22 consecutive regular season Big Ten victories for Ohio State, going back to the loss against Michigan in 2011. As David Cobb leaves this stadium for the last time, but the Gophers have at least 3 games left. 2 in the regular season, at Nebraska, at Wisconsin. A bowl game for sure, but also still an outside chance at playing in the Big Ten championship, because if they beat Nebraska and Wisconsin, they'll have a chance depending on how the tiebreakers play out. Urban Meyer now standing by with Tom Luganville.
Coach, you've had some road contests that have tested your mettle all year long. I know this didn't play to script, but what do you take away from this win today?
It played to script. We just turned the ball over. You know, we held them to 300 yards, and you know, we 2 road games back to back. This is a heck of a team we just beat.
JT Barrett continues to impress each and every week. Gets better and better. Late in the game, you have a key 3rd down. Who do you put the ball in his hands? JT Barrett. What do you have to say about his performance?
He just keeps getting better each week. He doesn't surprise me. Now we know who he is. He's a gamer. He takes care of the ball. He manages the game very well. He's a tough guy.
Going to get a fire going tonight?
I can't wait to get the heck out of here.
Good luck, Coach.
Tom may have a fire going tonight.
It snowed from kickoff till the end of the game, and the temperature never got above 21. Buckeyes, after playing 3 straight night games, play a morning game after the huge win at Michigan State, the biggest win in Urban Meyer's tenure with the Buckeyes, to come back and beat a top 25 team in Minnesota. They'll take it. 31-24 is the final score. And again, Minnesota still has to go to Lincoln and to Madison. Still a chance to win the Big Ten. And that game's coming up, Nebraska-Wisconsin here on ABC.
And neither one of those teams is going to be real excited about seeing this Minnesota team. So it would not surprise me at all if we had a rematch of this game in the Big Ten championship.
Ohio State wins its 13th straight on the road. That's the longest active streak in college football. And they will clinch the East Division if Michigan State loses tonight at Maryland. Final score for Minneapolis: Buckeyes 31, Gophers 24. For Brian Greasy, Tom Luganville, our entire crew, I'm Dave Pasch. So long from the Twin Cities.